Good evening, everyone. This is a special meeting of the Groton Board of Education being held on Wednesday, February the 12th, 2025 at, we didn't get that clock fixed, 6:05 p.m. It's a budget work session. And in attendance this evening, we have Mike Whitney, Dean Antipas, Matt Schulman, Jen White, Adrian Johnson, Bev Washington, and we have the distinguished Jay Whitlaw and Sam,
Not bad.
and Ian's online,
Extinguished.
Ray's online, and Denise Doolittle's online. Ian, you got your hand up?
Yes, I just wanted to say I am on my way in, so I should be there in about maybe 5-10 minutes.
Do we
Okay,
have a seat for him? Yeah, he's right by you.
okay, having said that, I think Susan's gonna go over the tracker sheet. If
So-
everybody has it,
I sent you digitally a tracker sheet.
Could we just project that though, please?
Do you have it too? Did I sent it to you in an email. What?
Yes,
Hold
I'll
on.
be right, I'll be right on it.
is he driving?
Thank you.
As he's driving and looking at the traffic.
So I have to say that our team has worked around the clock. Joyce is just leaving now. We really tried to do a lot of things like write justify. We tried to get it paginated. We tried to put the book together and get it copied. She was just thinking, she was hopeful about 5 o'clock, but what I ended up sending you was the digital version. We still need to work on it. And along with the function code and the narrative that have been corrected. And you'll see in the 1700s, I actually gave you a sheet of it, of the benefits in the district-wide section, and they were pulled out of, throughout the whole function code. And in addition to the function code and the narratives, you got a tracker sheet. And I think Clint will speak to his priority list, and he's got it color copied, the red and green, I think, Clint, right? So if,
Mark let me in as a participant and I'll share it. I have it up.
okay, does he know to do that?
No, did you finish this?
Yeah, I just wanted to orient you. You have that digitally. You'll get the hard copy. I'm hoping we can get it published tomorrow.
Are you gonna go
And
over the
send it.
tracker sheet?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'd be happy to. We'll start with the tracker sheet.
Sense and communicating reality. Whatever the bottom number is, we drop down a couple of lines and put less items that are taxpayer neutral. And we can be specific about the cost of the nurses, which was in the taxpayer package last year. It just appeared on the town. This year it appears in ours, so in terms of dollars, the percentage change is accurate, but we can demonstrate on the sheet that there is a portion of that.
Are you looking at the tracker sheet right now?
I'm looking at the tracker sheet, so it was stipulating that all of these things happen, okay, just stipulating for arguments. 8.51% is the dollar change of our budget, but the taxpayer impact of changes in our budget is not 8.5%, it's 8.51%, less the cost of nurses, because that was borne by the taxpayers all along. It's just shifted where it appears. If you think it's not a good idea, I'm not pushing.
I think we did bring that up. I think we
Yeah.
stated that kind of publicly
Yeah,
with
we
them.
stated that.
But I don't know if we can keep that. That's a lot to track. Even this was a lot to track. Whoops.
Yeah, we already stated that, so. We
Um,
stated that numerous times.
So the tracker sheet actually came from some suggestions that you all were making, kind of in public. I don't know that we captured them all. There's some other things. He's got like a running document tracker, but we just basically did this one as a PDF for you to take a look at, the most recent. And Ray is on. Good evening, Ray. I hope you got dinner in before, because I knew you went home late too.
You caught me as I was gonna put another mouthful in.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. That's all right. That's why I brought.
But he was able to capture a lot of what you were doing at home. He likes being home with his computer because then he's able to capture what you're saying and things that we can look at. So that's very helpful to us. So yep,
What I tried to do the other night was, as people were making suggestions, and this is only a tracker for those suggestions, the cost where it says dollar change, that's the amount that I'm estimating each of these would be. Like the first row, you have the 25 budget of 87,958. Then you have the current projected budget of 93,677. That's our starting point. And then we start each row, we have additional changes that we're bringing down through. For example, the nurses, I dropped in 70,000 for the nurse. That's the approximate cost of a nurse.
for one additional.
Right, for just one. We added increased wages for paras, projected wages, as well as 5 paras in the next line. And
Can
so,
I just say this, Ray?
Yep.
Those weren't necessarily added as both. It could probably be one or the other, either
correct.
the addition.
We just summed the total dollar amount from that.
I think the 5 additional paras we were saying were about 120,000. But
Yes,
what Beverly asked me to do is if we paid them $1.50 extra for the year across the board for all 208 of them, the amount came up to be about 375. So it's close to 400,000. So we kind of rounded it up to say, if you were going to give them something, and maybe, you know, maybe it's something honoring attendance or other ways, but just to give you kind of an anchor on what that might cost.
So that 400,000 is not add 5 paras and,
No, it's not both.
okay.
no,
And really, Denise and I talked about it. You can't just add 5 paras. You really have to use the IEP process because those paras are connected with children and their special needs. And so we just don't add paras. I mean, you could add tutors, you know, or something like that. For paras, it really coincides with the child's IEP and what the needs are of the child.
Also, you're gonna use paras for special ed. You don't
For
use
special ed,
paras
that's
for
right.
regular classroom?
No,
Yeah, and
No,
if I could, Susan
Yes.
and Mrs. Washington, if I could just add, when a student needs a para, we add a para. So they are being added automatically based on IEP requirements.
by law.
Correct.
Because I thought years ago, Denise, we used to have regular ed paras and special ed paras.
Yes, yeah, over the years, it has, you know, gotten to the point where the only paras that we have for full-time are connected to students with IEPs. We do have part-time paras for cafeteria, kindergarten, and recess. Those are the
And I think-
only gen ed paras that we have.
They're not in the union and they're considered aides and they're part-time.
Correct.
But when we add special ed related costs, we get reimbursed X amount, right? So we need to take that into consideration, right?
There is an excess cost. I don't know, Ray or Denise, if you want to
That's
talk about
about-
excess
you get
cost.
about,
but
you get about 58% back.
Right,
Okay.
so Jen,
So-
generally speaking, the students that meet the threshold for excess cost are students who are outplaced and have high costs associated with their programs. The students who are educated in district do not meet the threshold.
Okay, so by us adding these 5 paras, we won't get additional reimbursement
No,
at the end of the
No,
year?
not at all.
Okay,
Not,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
likely.
because they'll be in ours.
School districts.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well,
what's your,
how much does it cost for 5 new paras? You said 200,000?
No, more like 120.
What-
100?
Yeah,
But we wouldn't just add them. We would need to, you know,
Okay,
we would need to see in the IEP
yeah.
that the children needed them. We just don't go and add them.
You're adding capacity to, if they're needed.
By budgeting the number.
You're budgeting capacity in case they need to be added.
Well, I guess you could think of it that way, yeah.
Yeah, because we don't know how many we really need.
Yeah, that's, like I said, and that's also moving all the time because you've
Yeah.
got kids coming in and
our,
out. and-
Our numbers have been pretty consistent year to year. I will say we start out a little on the low side, like 180 in August. And then because students transfer and move, but then as students move into the district and we get to know students and students' needs change, we get up to about 200, 205 in January, February, which is where we are now. That's a pretty constant number.
Okay, so now I'm gonna challenge, oh, sorry.
Okay.
If it's a constant number, then we should have the right amount already in place.
I think we have,
We
right?
do, I believe
You-
we do, yes. I
Have
think we
that
budgeted,
208, 45 are within the IDEA though.
Okay.
yep.
Because if we don't need this, then should we invest like in tutors or something else, like, and just put like maybe 2 or something, but let's just continue on. It's just a
Yeah,
thought.
there's other things, and
There's
you can
other
see on the right-hand
things.
side how these additions increase the actual budget and then the percent increase.
That's
And
what Susan asked.
That's the important part. This is my running tab, so that as we go through it, you're gonna see by the end of whatever we do, I can tell you within minutes of you saying, let's add or reduce or move this or remove that. We can tell you as we're going along exactly where you're gonna stand with your budget. So I've used a tracker very
Not
similar.
really, because
What's that? I'm sorry.
we're missing the benefits piece, so we're close, but not exact.
Where are we? It's in the
Go ahead,
middle. of-
Ray.
Go on.
Continue on, Ray.
Come on.
I'm confused.
Don't worry about it. Continue on.
Okay, so basically, what we're trying to do is give us more of a real time, as we take the suggestions from the board as to where they want to be with the budget to present to the town. Well, we're trying to say, okay, this is a way for us to track it. This is a way for us to know where we're at. Then I will go back in and make those changes the next day within the actual budget lines and the functions and the object codes to reflect the actual cost that we wanted to move. That's
Okay.
basically everything you're seeing here. Now, there are some items like as we go down, Mike had suggested removing the contingency. The contingency has dollar values in there that are related to, let's say, vacation buyouts. If somebody doesn't, let's say a principal doesn't use all of his vacation that he gets throughout the year, by contract, we have to pay them for X number of days. I think most administrators have that in their contract. So we have money in there for that. We also have, if I'm not mistaken, there's funding in there for the new custodial contract that's coming due.
That's mostly what it is. That's the
Yeah.
majority of what it is. And at a rate of, I can't really say how many percent, but it's very marginal. So I don't
Yes.
even know if that would cover us. So that's something we have to think about, that we have to plan for. And that's
Right.
the way we were thinking to plan for it.
Can we go like line by line?
Yeah, we can go line by line. We're gonna go line by line. So the 160, you asked for 2 remedial instructors. If we have remedial instructors, they're usually highly qualified and have taught for a while, and then they have an additional certification in either math or reading. And so they would be for 2 of them, it would be 160,000 would be the estimate. You had mentioned add additional elementary teachers, but you didn't really say how many or subs. So we didn't really put a number in there. We're going to talk to you a little bit about what you were thinking.
Yep.
The extra sped teacher would probably cost us about $80,000. Then we remove the contingency. We reduce the IT budget. And Clint will talk to us in a minute about that. We do have a health benefits estimate to we looked at a few things. I think, Jay, you brought it to our attention, electricity, health insurance, making sure we had OPEB. And so these were some things we were working on today. So by adding to the health benefits, 600,000 to get it like closer to what we think the problem is they haven't really given us real numbers. They've said 8%, then they said 6% increase. And then the OPEB, we don't really know exactly, although John Burt did give us a figure of 240 for workman's comp. That additional monies that we need. That just came in today. So I've got to double check with Lori when she gets back to make sure that that's, accurate. Their fuel adjustment, Ray, you want to talk to the fuel and electricity here?
We got some contracts coming in on fuel that are reflecting some lower numbers per gallon. The problem is because it's hard to predict what the winter is going to be. In the last several years, we've had fairly mild winters, so our consumption is down. I really don't want to commit to like 75 or 80,000 gallons of fuel oil. You can end up paying storage fees forever and ever if you do. So we committed, I believe, to about 55,000 gallons of fuel oil. The problem is the budget number that went in, I don't think is the true reflection of where you should be. I believe you could be $50,000 to $100,000 shy on your heating fuel. Only
So you're trying to make that adjustment for next year, right?
Correct. This is next year's budget, not this year. All right. So I believe we should be adding it minimum 50. I think the board would be more comfortable with 100. Jay, you caught this and I thank you. Electricity is a roll of the dice right now. We're running a deficit now. We are starting to receive some of our rebates coming back from DRG. We received the first quarterly rebate of about $20,000, but you're still running a deficit of somewhere around 450, 500,000. Even if we bring the budget up to where it should be this year. So we're not really, if I take a look at the line, we're under budget by about 400,000, 450,000 for next year, my estimate. And Jay,
And didn't you also work out something, Ray, with the electric company so that you saw some cost savings?
It was heating oil and the diesel where we worked out some savings there.
Oh, I thought it was the electric company.
Electric,
No.
they don't work with anybody. I know of people that work there and it's trying to like pull teeth from an elephant. The price is what it is, so to speak. We just.
Are you talking about the actual electricity or the surcharge that they provide? Because I
There
think
are several volatile cost structures within the electric rate. You've got your true kilowatt per hour charge, which everybody knows has gone up. But there's also the line delivery charge that's out there. And right now we're paying about, I think 14.6 or 14.9 cents per kilowatt hour on your delivery charge of electricity to the building. That's regardless of whether you have solar or not. So instead of them going for rate increases, they've gone for increases in the deliveries. But some of the rates out there now are in the 20 some odd cent per kilowatt hour. The rates are all over. We're waiting to hear from DPUC where they're going to fall and what they're going to approve, because Eversource is trying to just pass much of this on to any and all consumers at this point. But I had the staff do an analysis on this, and it's not a pretty picture when it comes to utilities. And it could get uglier before it gets better. I mean, and I'm not trying to paint the bleak picture. I mean, I'm just laying the cards on the table, and you guys pay it at home the same way. So, and then last but not least, there's an FTE adjustment. We believe there's 1 to 2 bodies that are out there that we don't think we're going to fill. That are
they were doubled up or something, I think, in 2 categories.
So there's a reduction of about 137,000 there. All net right now, if we were to implement these changes, your budget's going to come in at 8.5%. I don't think that's going to fly, to be honest with you. As you guys probably know, you people know. So this is my method of tracking everything we add, everything we take away, so that we can at least know within minutes, where do we stand at this moment?
Any questions on the tracker sheet, Jay?
Right, so I was reviewing the meeting in February. I heard that we were using a projection of 8% increase on the health benefits plus OPEB. I think
Yeah.
we're estimating $1 million at that point. And so
But-
that's when I asked Ray whether that line really reflected. So I apologize to bring that up, but I guess my question is, are we able to true up the health benefits for this year? I think you said we have the report through December.
I have the report for December. We're going to be presenting it on the, what is it, the 24th? I think our meeting.
I can get it out to them earlier. I actually have. a
Yeah,
copy.
that's a public document. We can send that off. It's
Yeah, we can
direct
send that.
from NBG. So
Yeah,
right, so.
it's mostly in the blue.
Excuse me?
Good.
Which is good. So now, when you added the 600,000, is this still using the estimate of the 8%?
That's leaving everything as is and bringing in another 600,000. If I look at what's in the budget right now, I'm not comfortable that it was fully calculated upward. Because if I look what's there and I take the difference from last year to this year, yes, it looks like an increase, but in overall, I don't, the numbers aren't, 2 and 2 isn't making 4. Let's put it that way. So
Well,
go ahead.
well, I think that we're just being conservative by keeping it at 8%. They've suggested maybe 6, so there might be some more wiggle room, but I think that until we really we know, it's very hard to calculate. But-
And the reason, one of the reasons is if you look at the function sheet that Susan gave you, add up the 24-25
This is the
201 and
17.
202 line, and then add up the 25-26 201 and 202 line, you're not going to see a big difference there. That's why I'm not comfortable with the way the budget lines are falling right now. And I'm suggesting a minimum of an increase to the healthcare line of 600,000.
And that would ensure that that million for OPEB is there too.
Correct.
It's in there, but then, I mean, just being conservative. Now, we did hear, Ray, what was the number that they gave us for the health savings reserve?
A little over 3 million right now. I don't have that email in front of me, but it's a little over 3 million.
Above the corridor, right?
That's assigned to us.
Is that assigned to us or is that between the town and us?
They didn't say. They
Oh.
said this was the reserve. I mean, I'd have to open the email and go through it again.
We should find out, okay?
I'll communicate with the town tomorrow. I'll get more info. I owe Dee some answers on a few things anyway, so.
Okay.
Yeah, they used to have a very nice report
Raise your hand.
from the finance department. And so I would like to see if you could share that with us. I'm curious to see if it lines up with, what we're used to in previous years, so we can figure out how much is attributable to us versus the town. And then the other line that I was questioning, I just happened to notice that if you look at the current financial statement for the current year, it seemed as though we were trending badly on electricity. So I guess my question is, Ray, I see you've increased your estimate by 450,000. And again, I understand you inherited these numbers. And so this is your first look at them. And so I appreciate, the work you had to do to true them up. But have we actually now looked at, the actuals from the electric providers?
Yes, we are. That's how we found out. We started to do some comparisons. That's where we found out that, I found out that while I was gone, you received your first rebate check from DRG. correct me if I'm wrong, but Sam, I believe we get them every quarter. I believe. I don't know the 100% of the contract on it, but I think it's a quarter.
Might need to turn on your. He's saying yes.
That's correct.
Okay. I apologize if I open my laptop to get the camera to work. You will see me, but I'll black out all my other screens. So
Well, we don't want you to do that. We know you got to look at those numbers.
right.
And
so,
just as an aside, Ray, if we
Yes.
could get an up-to-date, financial statement for the current year, just to see, when you've had a chance to look at the encumbrances, so we know where we stand in 25. I know you're trying to do a million things at the same time, but
We did hear from the town council. They want to see a 6-month mark, and I think we're probably there. So I know Ray's going to work on that.
you're actually going to get an 8-month mark.
Oh, well, that's
Because
right.
my-
Because it's
Right,
July.
because my reports due,
Yeah.
my next financial report is due in a week and a half. So the 24th, I'll be pulling everything together for everyone.
I just wanted to briefly say, before we get started, that I know we're going to go through the budget, and I'm sure people have ideas. Personally, I believe we need to present what we need. Obviously, there are no new, huge projects in this budget. There's just trying to maintain, where we are. And so I think we need to put forward a reasonable budget, but it also can't undercut what the students need. And I certainly can't support anything that's going to degrade the student experience. Obviously, if we can find something that we can defer, that isn't going to cause a lot of damage, we want it to be a reasonable budget, but it also needs to be true. It has to support the district in a responsible manner.
And it's the students, but it's also the contractual obligations, and it's also utilities. Like, we don't want to get stuck
Right.
with saying, oh, we didn't estimate enough, because I think that's what we're seeing here when we tried to get the 25 budget down, and whatever happened. And I'm not going to blame anybody, but
Right.
so trying to shore that up. I feel a little more comfortable this year than I have the past couple of years, but
And while I'm not happy seeing these increases, in health, and we can't put our head in the sand if this is where the trends truly are going. So I appreciate your working on that, Ray.
Again, I need to discuss with Dee and John on the healthcare a little more to get more detail. Right now, it looks like about 600 we might be shy, which I know Lori tried to beef it up, and she did throw some numbers in on the 201 line to bring it up by 1.1 million. But then there's an offset on the 202 line that takes a $1 million reduction. So something to me doesn't look right. I need to dig a little deeper, and we're going to get there. It's just it's been a hectic couple of weeks, gang. I apologize.
No.
So. Ray, definitely appreciate all your efforts, and I just wanted to reiterate what Jay was saying as far as getting like a full financial report as far as like where we are now. I think that'd be great, but also like the healthcare stuff, getting a fully articulated statement on where we are with our healthcare, and have it delineated so that what's
so it's for the
pertaining-
Board of Ed.
Yeah, what's the Board of Ed stuff.
Mhm.
And we did discuss the non-lapsing fund last night. It sounds like that's a firm number, but to clarify, there was some confusion about that. Basically, my understanding of that, and I would welcome any correction on my understanding, is that the 427,000, basically whatever was in the non-lapsing fund, we had appropriated last June or July in order to compensate for the transition of the nurses into our budget.
Mhm.
So we did not know the final numbers. We just knew an approximate, and we had
Correct.
appropriated that estimate, waiting for the final numbers to matriculate through, which sounds like they finally have stopped moving and settled out 427,000. So that money is appropriated for nurses in the FY25 budget. So essentially, we should consider the non-lapsing fund to be a zero balance. at
For
this
this
point.
year, yes.
Yes.
For this year,
Oh.
because we're going, matter of fact,
Oh.
as part of the next meeting, I'm going to be presenting the board, the transfer of funds from the general fund to be paid out of the non-lapsing account. There's going to be some transfers that we're going to be presenting.
Okay.
Okay, so those, you will be seeing those transfers there along with, correct me on this, Susan, I always mess this up. I use the wrong term all the time. The DOD impact funding. Yeah, was that the-
DOD supplement, that's right. And that was, do you remember that number exactly? It was over 500,000.
I think it's 625 total. There were two, we received 475 in August. And another, oh God, 155, I believe it was. I'll get the exact numbers because I'm gonna need them for the transfer.
Yeah, we got another check and John knows that that's supplemental and put it into our account, right?
Correct. Now, the way this works is we don't increase any budget lines within the budget because you'd have to go back to a town meeting to do that. Or at least that's how it worked in other towns I worked. So we're not asking for an increase to our budget line, but what we are asking for is to pay directly from the non-lapsing on a certain number of employees that we're going to be charged to, and the rest is going to be charged to the DOD supplement directly. And we have
Okay.
two accounts set up so that
Right.
these numbers, so you will see a reduction in your budget expenditures by the time we're done. So
Because those nurses had to be paid through operations until we got these accounts set up.
Right.
And the audit probably had another thing to do with it to make sure we had those numbers clean.
that's why we had to wait. I had to be sure that I
Right.
had XYZ dollars.
Right,
If
right.
there were an error somewhere within the financials, you wouldn't have the non-lapsing from the healthcare line that we moved over. That
So
was
to that
absorbed.
end, I would just encourage and ask that, as we start moving these monies around to pay for the nurses and we're, that everything is articulated in such a way that it simulates a bank statement so that we can see what got put into these accounts and how they're being drawn out and what they're being assigned to.
We're gonna see all the debits and credits. I mean, there's nothing that's out of the norm on this, so I'll be
Right,
presenting.
I know, it's all internal bookkeeping to the town, so it's hard to conceptualize without, for me anyway, and maybe some other people too, to just see the lump sum number. I think it'd be beneficial to kind of see like, how it changed over time or like, where it stands currently. Like, so if some money's gonna be drawn out of our assigned funds, that's the non-lapsing fund. To my understanding, the non-lapsing fund is just dollars that are earmarked within the general funds, right? It's not a separate account somewhere in a bank somewhere,
There
correct?
should be no separate account. Although some districts do create a separate account. It
Right.
depends on, every district's a little different how they handle it from the town side.
But that's not us right here, right now.
I thought we did have a separate account for
They
non-lapsing.
set up, they structured, John did structure with they gave us a separate account to charge.
It's an accounting
So
entry.
they do have an account.
Oh, got it.
Internal bookkeeping to the
Yep.
town.
You can't go to Citizens Bank.
No,
and
no, we don't have
ask
those.
for-
Right. But to that end,
But Ian, what I can do, and what I've done with other districts, we'll start with our starting balance. And let's use round numbers. Let's say it's $500,000, and you'll see all the transactions coming out. And you'll see the ending balance, and then it'll be my next starting balance the next year, the next month or the next week, or whatever.
that
it
sounds
is.
like a good model.
Okay.
And so just to finish, like my overall statement, to reiterate, we need to construct a budget that we believe in and that we can defend. So the things that have been discussed in this tracker sheet, like have already received a good bit of consensus support.
Mhm.
Or some have? No? Okay. So,
No,
well,
no,
well,
no.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
So, okay,
They've been enumerated.
so these are things that we will have to, have a vote on
Correct.
and go through item by item and say, okay, is that a thing we want to keep, move, whatever? And
What
then
I
also,
did,
we
just
have to go through the function codes. Sorry, I just want to finish my thought, then I'll hand off the mic. And then we can, I also, Bev and I spoke the other night and, when we came out of here last week, we had the understanding that we're going to maybe go through systematically at some point. But upon further reflection, I'm not going to necessarily advocate for that firmly anymore, looking at the time frame. It may make more sense for us to do the hop, skip, and a jump just to kind of get through the hot spots that we've already identified. And then we maybe, like in the last meeting we do a quick flip through, sweep up. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time left. So I would be on board with doing the hop, skip, and a jump method. And yeah, but I just want to be sure that as we move the numbers, and I heard on the way in, Ray, you were saying that you do have a document that you can plug the numbers in and we get real-time modeling as far as
Yes,
once we make a vote on a number, we can see the effect.
Yes,
I should say before we vote on a number, we can see the effect.
yes, I wouldn't expect you to vote on a number without seeing it.
Okay.
That's what he was gonna show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I feel like we're in good shape to get started here, but I definitely if we end up with an increase above the 6.5, then we have to look at that and maybe go through again and try to find more adjustments. But the firm thing is, I think we should just operate from a place of principle of what we believe we need and where the allocations should be most emphasized.
Any other questions on this? I want to move it along.
Yeah, I'm ready to start moving the numbers.
Just that last line, I don't know if we talked about the FTE adjustment realignment. If we did, I just missed it. I don't
Yeah, he
know what
did.
that means.
You want to talk about that again, Ray? The FTE adjustment realignment?
Actually, we believe that there's like one or two bodies that were.
There were
buried in
two
there. There were two.
at 64,000. Yeah.
That were mistakenly entered in there that we removed out, which could take out 137,000. That's a no-brainer. I would remove that. And
Lori said they were actually identified in the budget twice, these two people.
Yeah.
So we took them out once so that they're still in there once. So that was it.
So then that's are they certified or?
Yeah, they were certified.
And so then that's two less total certified.
No, it's still the FTEs, but they happen to be in the budget twice.
Double entry.
Yeah, double entry.
And you don't have to give this now, but if you can just email us which function codes those were, that'd be
Okay.
great.
They were paid once, right?
Yeah, just paid once.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Any other questions on either one of these sheets that we received tonight?
I do want to make one other comment, and I know Mike he made a suggestion, and it was just a suggestion, as is all of this on the tracker. These are nothing is written in stone on here till you decide. I want to make sure everybody's clear on that. But on the reduce IT equipment, there was a mention of possibly reducing it in half. We only put in 100,000, and because personally, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul in this year's budget. If we take another 2.25 out of next year's, I think you're going to be hurting for IT and IT support. So I'm going to let.
Yeah, go on. Brett. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I'm turning it over to Clint on this one.
Okay, I was going to say the same thing. Clint is here. He's prepared to show you his priority document and just talk you through a little bit of that so you can understand.
Do you all want to go over the tracker sheet and say, what's the first one? Add a nurse in the middle school? Would that be a consensus, yes or no? You want to do it that way, and so we could be done with the sheet for now?
Yeah, as long as we can add.
Yeah, we'll add us or not do it at all.
I'd
Oh,
like,
no,
ideally, I'd like consensus on what we would like at this moment.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
until we get through the thing, we may have to make
Yeah.
more adjustments.
Yes,
And
whatever
did-
you're asking that.
I just want to make sure that we can add, not just like review these 10 items.
No.
Okay.
But even in talking about the nurse, for instance, Denise is on, and we did count up the nurses to make sure that I think we counted 9, Denise?
Yes, there's 9, plus the if we add in the one that we're requesting for Groton Middle School, it will bring us to 10, but we currently have 9. We have 5 elementary. We have 2 secondary. We have 1 at Sacred Heart and 1 float nurse.
We have been using the float nurse, though, just to let you know, to help out at Groton Middle.
Yeah.
Oh, you know that.
We know
So,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
But that wasn't enough.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
All right, so just to get a consensus, and it's not in stone.
I was just gonna say, is there an option to add, and I don't know enough about, what a school health aide versus actual nurse does, but would there be an option, to kind of try to get towards accomplishing what we were doing by adding a health aide versus a full certified nurse?
That's a very good question. The issue is that the nurse in the office, the health aide is working under the nurse's license. And there's quite a few tasks that the nurse cannot delegate because of her license. So the direct medical care, for the most part, especially the acute medical care, our students with diabetes, our students with more significant medical conditions, really must be seen by the nurse. And we're seeing an increase in students with asthma, diabetes, and some of the more chronic medical conditions. The health aide is invaluable. She does a lot of the logs in Power School. She greets the students when they come in. She contacts parents, and she does a lot of the communication with the classroom teachers. But there is quite a few. I mean, she can take temps. They wipe down and sanitize cots and surfaces. But the direct medical care cannot be delegated to the health aide in many cases.
So I guess in my own, we just really need to know what do we absolutely need 2 nurses there, or can we make it work with, I guess it would be 2 health aides, is that correct, in the middle school then?
what if we had an extra health aide but continued to have the float nurse support her?
So the float nurse right now is unable to float because
Oh.
she is full-time at the middle school.
Oh, okay.
The additional health aide, again, would not relieve the burden or the duties that the nurse has to assume. There are certain things, again, that she cannot delegate because she cannot jeopardize her nursing license. At the middle school, we've always had 2 nurses, and the children at the middle school are not independent like they are at the high school in terms of dealing with some of their care, their self-care. And there are a lot of needs. The nurse right now is not feeling as if she can return to the position next year if she is the only nurse in the health room. She does not feel it's safe. And we have met with her, we've reviewed, her concerns, and we agree with her and that is why the float nurse is there full time, because she does not feel that the school is safe with just 1 nurse. Given the number of students, almost 1,000 students, their ages and their medical conditions and their day-to-day needs.
We have a substitute nurse as well who covers if someone is sick.
Yes, we have a sub nurse who's been filling in to provide coverage, and we're only pulling the float nurse if we have multiple absences in a day and we have to. We've even pulled the nurse from Sacred Heart because it is such a small school when needed. Because of frequent, flu, RSV, COVID, we've had so many people out recently being sick that we've had to pull the nurse from Sacred Heart.
Okay.
There's not much that I'm willing to stand up for, but this is really critical. When we had Cutler and when we had West Side, they all had their own nurses. And so when we joined Groton Middle, we should have kept the 2. We kept the assistant vice principals. We didn't downsize certain things. Groton Middle School has double the number of students that the elementary school has. And this is the age when those kids are going through growth and hormone changes, and then just other medical issues they may have, you know, transitioning from a smaller school to a bigger school, whatever it may be. But one nurse supporting that building, that size, I totally support the nurse and her agree. And also, when she is treating someone, when Beverly and I went for our tour and talked to her, when she is treating someone in the back, and let's say the float nurse wasn't held and there's no one there. And the other students who come in at that point in time will need to wait. And if they're an emergency and they're both of them an emergency, they can't be treated unless it's by that nurse. And it is good to have a health aide, but that is what they are. They're an aid and support to the nurse. If any of our schools need two nurses, it is Groton Middle. Even if we, you know, and here it says, I thought in the presentation, someone had said like Northeast Academy had two, but like when Bev and I went there, it was only one and it was only the supervisor. So I don't know where I heard that. And if there is two there, which I
No.
don't think that's the case,
There's
then,
not, Jen.
okay, good. Because when we went there, it was only one and it was the supervisor.
We do have school-based nursing though, in our schools.
No, but that's different. That's
I
different.
know it's different, but I'm
That-
just saying that could be,
I
if someone
guess-
said it, they might have not understood. Okay.
So,
All right, well, I support that, definitely.
That's,
Okay.
Yep.
You support it? Matthew?
yeah.
Okay. You got it, you chair.
Gonna let you know somebody had their hand up, that's all.
Go ahead. Got it.
So, okay, let me see if I understand. I'm going back to my original understanding about who had nurses. Clearly, we have 7 buildings. So that's at least 7 nurses. As I say, at least 7 nurses, plus Sacred Heart, that makes 8. We currently have 1 at the middle school. You're advocating for a second one. So the 16 figure under the FTEs of nurses and school health aides, that's 16. Of the 16, adjusted, it's printed as 15, but it's 16 now because we missed one at Northeast Academy, a figure of 2. So of the 16, 8 are nurses, 8 are the aides. Okay, what is the breakdown?
9 are nurses.
Dean,
And we
9 are
have-
nurses.
We do
You
not
forgot
have
the
an aide
float
at
nurse.
Sacred Hearts.
Yeah, and you forgot the float nurse, Dean.
Okay, I thought she was the one. Okay, so 9 nurses. And that makes then 7 health
7.
aides.
Yep.
Okay, and you're advocating for 10 nurses.
That's
Correct.
correct.
Then, okay.
Oh,
is it 10?
I thought we were just up to the 16 total number. That's what the 70,000 is, no?
It was reported that the 50 number is wrong.
Correct.
16
Yeah.
because the 1 FTE associated with Northeast Academy should have been a 2. I imagine then that's what, a nurse and a health aide.
That's
I-
correct. Yeah,
I
the,
know-
the Sacred Heart nurse was not counted originally in the FTE schedule because it was a vacancy at the start of the year.
So
So
the
that was an
70
error.
the 70,000 increase is to get us up to that number, right? Or are we adding someone else on top of that?
Yeah, right.
So
But didn't we account for it in this year's budget, Denise?
No, we checked with Ray this morning. The 70,000 that you have on your budget tracker is for the additional nurse. The
takes us to
Ray
16.
and the business office went back and adjusted the FTE schedule. So the new electronic FTE schedule is correct. It has 9 nurses. We're asking for 1 more. So the 10th nurse would be the addition on the tracker.
That is
Okay.
correct.
So we've already,
let's do the math.
we've already added, so we've
We
already added
fixed
a
the
position and now
FTE.
there's another one?
There
No.
was an error on the original FTE schedule and it's been corrected. And the dollar amount is accurate. It's been corrected. It is, it reflects the 9 nurses that we currently have. And if you look at Ray's tracker, you can see under description, the 70,000 is to add a nurse at the middle school.
So
Okay.
beyond that.
Beyond the 9, so that would be 10.
Correct. That would be 10.
Oh, but where's I don't know where the corrected number is for the 16. That's,
We just getting 16.
That's because you didn't get that yet. I don't think you received that unless it's on your electronic version.
so is that like an earlier track change that we need on like above this,
Yes,
Yeah,
that was made,
yeah.
that was made last week when we met.
on the 3rd?
I can't recall the date, but I think it was the 3rd, yes.
One of those dates.
Well, that's the date on that first entry. That's why I thought we were talking about that.
I'm,
It says February 3rd, 2025, add nurse. But says POE suggestion. I don't know. I mean,
It's the 10th
Yeah, I'm
nurse. That's the 10th
confused.
nurse.
what's our total? What's the function codes? 2130. Right now,
it's
the book I have has us at
15.
for nurses. So that's on page 5-81. For nurses, that's account 153. I've got 770,190. So adding that,
I'm prepared to project
Yeah.
the,
I'm trying to figure out what our number is, like, before we talk about that 70. I don't.
yeah, and I need to be, all right, I'm getting promoted now.
Yeah, I almost voted for something like different from what I thought I was voting on.
So,
Well, you're voting on adding a nurse at Groton Middle School.
That's
what
the
we're-
bottom line. We're
That's the
agreeing to
bottom
have
line.
a
We're
nurse.
getting a little sidetracked and we're on one line for hours. already.
Yeah, we're never
We're
gonna.
never
get
gonna
the
get
rest
through
of
this.
Budget.
We're just adding one nurse at Groton Middle School for
And we're just looking for a
$70,000.
consensus on that at this point.
Right,
We wanted to know whether the adding the one nurse was the $70,000 or not.
right.
Yes.
That's all I want to know. Is this
It is.
Really?
okay? That's it. That's all we want to know.
But so we're adding 2 nurses from the budget version that we have printed out, right? That's what's happening.
Yeah, when yours says 15, it's got to be adjusted by 2. Mine says 16 because I made a notation when we talked about it last week. So for me, I'm adding the 1. For you, you're adding the 2.
Well, but I mean, we've got a document that we're working off of. I've got notes.
I'm
too.
just saying.
And so that's
page you on?
770. That's a 5-81.
581,
Yeah, that's the function line.
what's projected now is,
130.
these are the new spreadsheets that came out. These are the adjusted ones that,
This is the same.
yeah.
That's
Can you go to the
Or-
page?
So that means like,
If you go to the page before. for
You know
the
what-
narrative.
well, the way the budget, the document's constructed, I have to jump over.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second. Is that still showing? Okay, good.
I don't
All
know.
right, that's good news.
So it was just an
I think
error.
that even if you look at the 770 figure, that's like 77 times 10 people.
But that's
nurses.
the same as the 131 version. In terms of number.
So looks like Denise is correct, that the dollar figure we were given
Was
is correct, reflects the actual,
Right, the
Right.
FTE.
but the
FTE
FTE
was
number
the-
was
was the
incorrect.
error.
And I made a notation, yeah, we ought to add one. So now when we're discussing
But that
about
770
adding a nurse,
will work.
that's where the 70,000 comes from.
You are
Okay.
correct, Dean.
All right. So the 70,000 that's here on the tracking sheet is not a correction.
Okay.
It's part of the wish list.
Right.
It's
That's-
safety.
that's correct.
It's not a wish, it's a
That's all I want.
safety.
Huh?
It's not a wish.
But we have 2 nurses at the middle school right now. We've got
No, we don't.
the float nurses there all the time,
Well, that's.
But she's not permanent, she's a float nurse.
but she's there all the time.
All right, well, you can vote no, Mike.
Okay, I could vote no.
Okay. So how do you vote? No? No for the adding of the nurse?
No.
Okay. Matthew,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Yes.
I say yes,
Yes.
Yes.
yes, okay, so,
And Jay's speakers by his absence.
yeah, I think Jay-Z, yes, he already said it before he went. All right, so that's a yes. The next line would be to add the 5 paras for, what was that, 120,000? Or increase the para wage for 350,000.
Yeah, 375, I think it was.
So is there a function code that is associated with this? I could pull up on the screen.
No, that was just something that.
That
we
they were
talked about with- Yeah. That, remember,
Right.
we were talking about, should we give the paras more money?
Got it,
Blah, blah,
yeah.
blah.
Yep.
And my
Okay.
recommendation,
I heard that conversation on the way in.
Yeah.
you wouldn't just add 5 paras, because that would come through the IEP process.
Right.
But if you were considering doing something to their wages, that would be something that you could put in there.
Well,
Separate question.
I just want to clarify, my understanding of it was, as Jay explained, it's adding the capacity for 5 additional paras plus the raised wages.
No,
That's what this number represents.
No,
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 No?
no.
Number is more or less just increased wages.
Because it says add
Add
5
5
paras,
paras, I think we can just
semicolon,
define that.
increase.
Could I ask Susan a question?
that's the wages.
Because Denise did explain that we go through these cycles
So
and
what does it say
it really does each year. We have enough.
Susan put that in.
Is it either or is it both and?
It's either or.
It's either or.
So we
Well,
cannot.
if you add the 5 new tutors, right, paras,
Mhm.
it's gonna be $120,000. If you wanna give them a bump in their rate, in their salary,
Right.
it's gonna be between 350,000 to 400,000.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
And the total is close to 400,000.
yeah, so that's.
So this would be both and.
No,
No,
Because if you add 400,000.
375 and 120 is 500,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah, we didn't add.
they just
that.
put it on one line
Yeah,
and the math of the two numbers summed together.
stretch up the 5
is
paras.
fuzzy.
Yeah, we,
Okay.
we wanted to capture exactly what was requested by the boards.
We
That's
tried
why-
to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They could have had it really on 2 different lines.
Exactly.
And that
Yeah.
would have clear.
Would have been better.
That would have been clear.
So question
Sorry.
for Susan.
Yeah.
Susan, so whether we add the capacity for 5 paras or not, if we had 10 kids that needed the services, we would need 10 paras. So,
They were 1-to-1.
how do we account, or how do you deal with when we have a budget that's X dollars and the needs of the kids demand that we have X plus Y? How do we handle that once we have a budget?
We
What's the
just
process?
always trended so that you start with fewer and then it raises to that amount that you predicted, and almost every year it comes out to be about the same in the low and the high range. So we've always
So
You know,
is there a
been able
need?
to handle that, right, Denise? Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
yes,
I
you
thought-
are, Susan. And we also look at our student needs frequently. So we
Yeah, 3 times a year.
monitor who's
Mhm.
moving into the district and has a para versus who's leaving the district, or maybe who's made progress and doesn't need that much support versus maybe a student who's struggling, who we have to increase support. So it's a big job that we undertake in communicating with the
Did I
schools.
finish my
Weekly.
question? She interrupted me. I asked Susan a question and then I would like to have a chance to have the conversation. We've heard this several times and I'm grateful because we need to hear it, but we have heard it several times and we're using up time. My question is this: if we have a projection that is consistent over time and our budget as it stands incorporates what we know to be consistent over time, then there is my perspective, no need to add more capacity if you say the capacity is already baked
Yes.
in.
You've got it. That's exactly what I meant to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, anybody else?
On the 5 paras.
Yeah,
we're all gonna agree to draw a line.
anything else?
Well, wait,
Okay.
I thought we
Alright.
just agreed, you just told me to scribble out 5 paras, that this number represents the increased para wages.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So put on your bottom, on the bottom of.
So
your
we're
sheet,
circling
5 par-
increasing.
Wait, Susan, put on the bottom of your sheet, 5 paras,
Mhm.
$120,000.
Okay, very well.
And we
Thank you.
crossed it.
Separate line.
Okay, separate lines.
Separate line.
Separate line.
Should have started 2 lines.
So this is for the increase?
Yeah, this way.
Okay, so so I think the pair contract is gonna be renegotiated. It's done in 2026, I think. So we're towards the end of it. And I'm sympathetic to the needs for pairs to get fair wages. I don't see, I don't see. I don't think we necessarily should be doing it here at this time. And then I'm just looking down the sheet, right? Everything that was added 212, right, today, the health benefits, the workman compensation, the fuel adjustment, electricity, and then the FTE adjustment realignment. You add that up, that's $1,253,000 added to the budget. That's like, what is that, like a further 1.5% increase over the budget? That's a,
That was 27 was the contract.
what,
We just signed it last year.
which,
I thought it was a 4-year, I thought it was a 2027 contract
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was done 2026.
They were 4-year contracts,
So-
this past one.
So,
Eh,
yeah.
And,
Yeah, 20.
anyway, my second point is, we've got this bottom of the sheet that that we just found out about, that's, over 1.2 million that's added in. Um,
Is that a no vote for you, Mike?
well, it's more than a no vote. I like, what, we're gonna add on a lot of stuff. I already thought that, what is it, the 7.5? Wait, So-
6.58.
why did it go from 6.5 to 6.58? At the last meeting? Wasn't it because we had to add an extra nurse in?
I think so.
So how did it come back out? I don't get
Add
that.
an extra nurse in.
Yeah, it went the superintendent's budget was at 6.5. And then now we have the 6.58.
That's if we added in this extra 10th
Oh,
nurse.
geez. Okay, well, I guess I'll move past that, but the point is, we're adding another 1.2 some million maybe from new information today. And now we're gonna add in 400,000 for Paris and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have unlimited funds.
So it won't be 400,000 for the air increase.
What would it be? That's what Susan came out with.
Well, I
Three
just did the
seventy.
$1.50 that you
Yeah.
asked me to.
That's what $1.50. Now, you don't have to give $1.50. It could be less, it could be $1.
So
So. You know,
Did
so you figure maybe between 300 and 400,000, something like that. So the question would be, do you want to give them a raise or not? It's gonna be some increase to the budget. So how do you vote? Yes or no?
I'm gonna, well, this is an informal vote, right? Because we haven't
Yeah.
called.
Yeah, we can.
So I'll say no. And I don't want to I'd like to see our budget not come in over a 6.5 increase,
Right.
total budget. So.
I feel the same way. We worked hard to get it there.
For the purpose of discussion, I'll say yes, though I am troubled by it. It is not merely giving the wage, which I think is certainly justified for the work. It's also for being competitive because we're not able to attract the paras that we need to serve the kids that we have. So giving the wage is if you look at all the districts, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's all the districts surrounding us are more, some several dollars more than us. There may be some, for the purpose of discussion, I'll say yes.
Jen?
Yes. Same as Matthew, we need to remain competitive, otherwise we may have no paras.
Adrian?
So this number is not clean 400 and for different reasons than what Jay was saying. But as Denise has said before, special ed teachers, right now we have something like, well, I shouldn't, a couple of months ago, we had 30 open para positions. That could be reduced if we pay competitive wages, and we were assumed, well, I know what Denise said was that special ed teachers had to cover that. And a special ed teacher gets paid 4 times, maybe 5 times as much as a para when you add benefits in. So this number, I don't think adds a real $400,000. And if tutors are covering paras, which I don't know if they are, it's my understanding that at least that was happening, they're about twice the price of the para. So so this number looks like a big line item, but there's savings in other areas because of it. So I vote yes for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll vote yes for what everyone else is saying. And yeah, the math is it shows in the region about 1.5 to $3 under is what our current wages are as a starting wage.
Okay.
So,
Jay?
yeah.
Jay?
I support increasing the wages for the paras. It also, my understanding is we're using teachers, we're using substitute teachers, tutors, so it actually could yield a savings, but I don't know exactly how we calculate that, but I definitely support raising the para wages.
Dean?
I'm going to say no. I was originally thinking yes. I'm going to say no, and here's why. Again, this is just preliminary. I understand the arguments for raising it, remain competitive, et cetera. I've also heard these sentiments expressed, which is, I'll summarize it this way. Don't we feel bad that they're being paid the $1.50 less? That to me is a non-starter. The only reason for management, which is what we are, to pay more, is to get more. So if we pay them more, will we find them more easily? Will they be here more often? Will we see the absentee rate go down? That's how I'm looking at it. Not as a
Get the
thank,
Norton straightened out, honey?
you know, thank you for your hard work. Here's another, here's another sum. We're not in a position to do that. It matters if we actually get something for it, if the district actually gets something for it. And I'm not completely convinced, regardless of whether the number is 400,000 or how we calculate any savings in other areas. I'm not sold on it yet.
And I have to vote no myself because if we would have did this 2 years ago, I probably could have voted yes, but now it's gonna be a hard budget time. And I don't wanna harp on federal funding and all that, but if we could do something else than to compensate them other than giving them pay raise. Now, if we can find this money in a reduction, 350,000 somewhere else, then I'm all in. But if we can't find 350,000 in reduction somewhere else, and that in Sam's budget, then I might vote as a no. I'm with Michael here. I like to see us bring our budget down under the 6.5%. I don't think it's gonna, I'm not too hopeful that it's gonna fly if it's more than 6%.
It's lower.
Is it legally possible not to call this a wage increase, but a performance increase based on attendance, et cetera? Because one of the problems that we're having is lots of absences.
But that's when I said something about giving an incentive instead of giving them a wage increase. But anyway, so yes seems to have it because there's 3 no's and there's 5 yeses. So,
Ray had his hand up. So.
Ray?
Yes.
Thank you.
I need some clarification because I need to fix the tracker. So are we budgeting 400,000 for wage increases? Or we not budgeting, but suggesting we leave 400 in there for that? Or are we putting 100 to 125,000 in to add 5 paras? Because
No, we're
it's
doing the wage increase and it's just a suggestion as of now.
okay, but
Take out the
Scratch the
paras.
5.
Take out the
Scratch
paras.
the 5.
We scratched a 5, which was
Uh,
125.
done. Okay. Okay,
So
we
that
can move
line- So
on.
that line goes to 280.
280.
No.
Wait, wait, wait.
This 400,000
120
was just for the wage increase.
No, it's 375 for the wage increase, as I understood it.
Where do you see that?
That's what I understood it to, but we have to been told
Rounded
that.
up to 400.
Yeah.
I can change it to 375 if you want.
Oh, okay. Well, we can change it too on our sheet then.
Yeah.
375.
And this isn't permanent, so we can change it.
Right, and this isn't permanent, Ray.
Nope. I'm doing the tracker to give you real-time view. So that
Okay.
when you're done, I can let you know what it is.
Right. So now we're down to remedial instruction and 160,000. I can't remember what that was.
2 certified positions,
2 certified
whether it's
positions.
literacy or math.
No.
I myself vote no.
Nope.
I'd like to see the remedial line go down and that up. But what do you say, Michael?
I was trying to find what function it was. I'd like to look at that line.
Look at the overall function.
Yeah.
When that was 3 million.
$8.3 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 3 million and I was like,
I just turned to it, guys.
what?
558 and 559.
Yeah. So for FY 26, it's the amount was 3,335,344.
Function code is 1270.
That's what we needed.
You know, anything. It's like. Anything.
Question for Susan?
The money is on 559. And then the FTEs are on 558.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matthew, you have a question?
Susan?
1270.
So I have a question about, uh, in a perfect world, certified teachers would be the best for remedial instruction. But if could we accomplish our goal of remediation by having some highly qualified tutors at a targeted, let us say, to a particular area? We were talking about elementary school, having some remedial math at the elementary school who were not certified teachers would work under the teacher, but would be able to provide some replica of high-dose tutoring so that we could boost those scores for academic achievement. So I'm going to vote no on the certified teachers now, but I throw out that maybe we can circle back at some point to look at a less expensive solution.
Instead of adding the two.
Michael, you want me to go back to you or?
Yeah, sure. So on that function code, that's 1270, right? If you go to the FTE, so it's showing a decrease from the current year budget.
Hmm.
And I think that's, if you go up to the FTE sheet, maybe you don't have that. That's separate. Do we not have the FTEs or?
Above?
We do.
So I was just wondering on this, they're two separate.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
We're walking.
It is. We tried. It was really wonky. 6 o'clock.
12:30, sir.
I mean, I didn't get a chance to look at these at all, right?
There it is.
You big.
So I can toggle back and forth.
Yeah, that's fine. So here, what we can see is that total elementary from this year to propose, it's up by 0.6.
0.6 is a literacy interventionist that has been highly skilled with Wilson training
Yeah,
and works with dyslexic children.
and so that's in the direction that we want to go
Right,
anyway,
right.
right? And then the net is down a 0.4, and I know we've talked a lot about elementary remediation, and I know that Fitch High School one is down because that particular person was reclassified to science. It says it in the budget narrative right below. But I was concerned even at the time that we are losing remedial capacity at Fitch. And so I'd be supportive of basically restoring that one. And I guess remedial instruction, this numbers for more than one person, but I'd be okay with going up, like having Fitch show a net zero change.
Would you mind me asking the principal, because sometimes we have some of the ELA teachers that also, there was an ELA teacher that also had her literacy certification as a reading teacher. And it could be that if the schedule works out the way, she could actually do a day as a literacy person, but that's something I can also look for.
It just struck me as low, like the remedial instruction at Fitch High School. Like, Groton Middle's got 4, Fitch High's got 1 with more students. So I'd be supportive of it going up. I'd like to see it go to Fitch, actually. I know that's counter to what we've been talking about, the importance of, and I agree, the importance of a good base in elementary, but that's a negative change that concerned me when we were going through the budget.
I understand that.
Would it be a good idea to look at the FTEs and see if it would behoove us to switch them around and like look at the neediest schools and see if they need more remediation and some schools don't need that much?
I think
Like,
you
do they
see-
all have to have 4?
No,
Four,
but
four, four?
Mystic River and Thames River are the largest and most neediest as far as, that's why they have the 2
Alright.
extras, yeah.
Because there's a chance you could like maybe give one school 3 and up it in another school that needs it, and we can accomplish the same thing.
I mean, I can investigate that. I know that, hard when you rob Peter to pay Paul, but I
Yeah,
can
but
find it.
basically, is Northeast Academy gonna be okay with losing one? Is what, with the. Am I not supposed to say that?
No, but that's what I was talking
know.
about, robbing Peter to pay
Oh,
Paul.
I didn't read your note,
Yeah.
but everybody knows what the.
Well,
Yeah.
it might work, it might not.
I guess what I'm saying overall is that, on the actual function code line, that 101 certified teachers, like if it's actually the numbers. Sorry to do that to you. Are you running the numbers on, are you running the show on this one?
Yeah, yeah.
The function code with,
Want to go to the function?
Go to
code?
the-
yeah.
Okay. Money sheet.
Money sheet, money,
Yeah, so
where's the
that,
money?
that 101, if you look at it, it's down
It works out.
84,000. And then we're proposing here to go up roughly 160,000. I'm just saying, like, let's split the difference, bring that up to even. You know, so it's a zero increase on that. Instead of, I don't like seeing that decrease, and it's because of Fitch.
Okay.
Just, I'd be okay with half this 160,000. That's what I'd say.
You do it one.
Yeah, yeah.
one-
And I'd like to see it Fitch unless there's like a real good reason we can get back to that, but. Yeah,
Oh, but you want this one to go to Fitch.
that's my preference, but
Okay.
I guess what I'm saying is just to make it simple. If we have a zero increase on line 101, that's kind of hard to argue against. I mean, asking for the same amount as,
I agree.
you know, a year before.
Right, the actual assignment could be adjusted.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
If-
All right, Matthew, what do you say about remediation? Let's move it along there.
I'd like us to mark on your list of things that we'll do to circle back to how we can get more remediation of whether it's label remediation or label tutors back in the elementary school. I'll support whatever the group wants to do.
Jen?
I'm actually no for the high school because I want it at the elementary school. I'm gonna have to say no on this one
Okay.
For the high school or just the town?
for the high school. But
Yeah,
in
I-
general,
In general,
yeah,
you know for
the proposal.
the whole 180,000,
Well, if
That
it's
one's-
going,
160,000,
if it's going to the elementary school, then I can support that.
and you could support two or one if it's going to the elementary school.
I can support it for now, but we need to get to the side where we're gonna start finding where we're gonna fund this.
Yeah, I know that.
I don't want people to think that we're just adding because the trimming side still needs to come on the other end, efficiency side.
Right, right.
So I will support this. I don't want it to be remediation though, because I don't know where they thought that like, because I was slipping out that we spent 3 million about 2 or 3 sessions ago that we're spending on remediation. If anything, I wanted to invest in teachers at that lower elementary school age to make maybe one class, like smaller size, even if it's just 1 school or 2 schools. Let's start, whether it's, I kept saying math, but I can go for literacy. I don't want it to be an investment in remediation. That means we're investing in rework, we're investing in whatever it may be. I want us to start investing in the foundation. So if we can invest, like, I don't care if it's called remediation here, as long as there's like a teacher who can have 1 more classroom and these children can get more focus, I'm more in favor of that.
That's a
So
no.
I don't know how, like, it got called remediation.
Right.
It wasn't, it changed. It wasn't remediation.
What was it?
It was like an investment in a teacher or
There
whatever.
are,
That's
that's
the
the
function
next
of it.
line. That says add elementary teachers, but we didn't know how many.
Oh,
That's
okay,
your
then
next
so
line.
if that's the case, remediation is 0 for me.
All right.
All right, well,
Just didn't put a number in
remediation,
there.
it's just because the function code is called remedial and services.
Well, we
and
don't want to let the tail wag the dog.
This is, there are a lot of kids, and I'll talk about reading because it's something I've done a lot of research on. We have dyslexia, right? That's somewhere between 2 and 10 kids, or 2 and 10% need that instruction. But somewhere about, from there up to about 30% or so, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, need extra help in
Mhm.
learning to read. They won't learn, reading is not something that we're born to do. It's something that was developed a few hundred years ago for most people, right? It's a different thing. And some things we can just learn on our own, but there's a lot of people that just don't have the brain processing to pick up reading really easy. So this is what I would call tier 2 instruction, right? So it's
Tier 2 or tier 3?
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of think even special
tier
ed,
three.
tier three and
Well,
whatever.
tier three special ed, and
Yeah.
that's into those, but there's a lot of kids that you can catch if you catch them early
Mhm.
and will not need to do this remedial instruction
Amen.
in fifth grade. If we can catch it in first grade, and
Agreed.
then math will get better too, because you need to read to do math. in
Agreed,
fourth
you
grade.
sold me on, yeah.
So I am absolutely for this, for Thames River and Mystic River. And I would love to see 3 of them for CK as well, because of the low scores. But specifically for that, I think that, I've been through this as a parent. And there's only so much staff there, and I understand how it works. Your kid has to be really low to get in that. Because there's just not enough staff to support 30% of the kids. So, and if you fall in that point where in that place where you really need some extra help, but we just don't have the staff for it, those kids are falling through the cracks. So this, out of all of these, this is, I think, the best bang for the buck throughout the system.
So how, I don't, so how would you envision this, like Beverly cut me off, so I'm just.
I didn't cut you, I understand.
Okay, so, like, if they're at, language arts time, do you expect them to get pulled out, like, at the same time? I don't want them to get, like, branded, because they're.
And ask Susan that.
Yeah, that's a-
He doesn't work exclusively.
It
Yeah.
works in all kinds of ways. Sometimes it's a push-in model where they go into the classroom and work with a couple kids. Sometimes they need to pull them from several classrooms. So it happens whichever way works best, but we try to have core instruction be core instruction. We don't want them to miss the main lesson in wit and wisdom. We want them to have that, and then we find this other win time or other additional time where they can go and get extra.
Could
That's
this,
the goal.
could this be amenable to, I use the word tutor, I don't really caught in the labels.
I was thinking the same thing. So when we had those Our Best or Dollars and we had the level of support with the remediation, but we had additional tutors and they reported to the literacy specialist and they were trained, highly trained, and some were retired reading teachers, honestly. So they were already super trained. That was like the best, and math the same way, retired math teachers. So that was really the best way I was seeing it happen. It didn't last long and it was during COVID. And I don't think we can ever get all of them back in Wootton. But could we add another literacy tutor in some of those schools that might need it? I would say, they've lost them. So yeah, or math tutor. And even in the DODEA grant that we're putting in for, don't know if we'll get it. Don't even know if, it's come out. So we're going to be trying, but to get a couple more math tutors, same thing.
So how much is a tutor versus,
35, 40,000?
35.
so 4 times 3, 120?
Would people be inclined to have the tutors instead of teachers? How does that work? What do you think about that?
Could I
Does it
just
have two-
get a little clarity on we're still on the remedial instruction?
Yeah.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of having just one more remedial teacher, you could get 4 tutors. You could actually put one of the tutors at the high school if you wanted to work with the highly trained, Stephanie, who's up there and she has a certification in reading and Wilson trained and she's terrific, but she's only one person.
But it's something to think about.
Something to think about.
So I'm in support of 2 teachers that are trained and will be effective. This will be effective.
Ian?
I'm a little, so I just want to so we've had a couple numbers discussed here. We got 80,000 thrown out by Mike,
It's for a
160,000.
Well,
Right,
the 80,000 is for one teacher,
right.
so.
For one remedial instructor, certified teacher.
Mhm.
And 2 would be 160.
And 2 would be 160, but then Susan just introduced the idea of, and between Jen and Susan, we got 120 for 4
For
tutors
tutors.
instead of 2 certified instructors.
Right,
Or 1 certified instructor.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know, maybe we do need to be a little more formalized with this, so we can just like have like an amendment and then, like vote it on one option, vote another option. And,
Okay.
and come to a final.
All right, so
decision.
what do you vote on the teachers then? Because that's this line item.
Right, I'm inclined to lean towards Adrian's perspective on this because, you know, literacy instruction at a young age, these, as this was put in, was it intended for elementary area?
I don't know. You all had really been the ones talking about it, so,
I think it got misplaced
Yeah.
in your.
oh, okay, well,
Because that's like the K through 3 years are the most crucial years. And, you know, the more we invest in those years, hopefully over time, the less we have to support on the
So
later.
how do you vote? We've been through all that.
Right, so I'm just trying, but, okay, so like, I'm in favor of the 2 certified instructors, because they could be highly effective, you know, and be flexed in and out of classrooms. So, yes,
Alright.
but like, where's the assurances that that is what's gonna be done? If that passes, I just wanna make sure.
Because Mike is voting yes, but he wants it to go to the high school.
Right.
Michael?
I guess I'm voting, yes, up to 80.
Up to 80.
So,
80.
yeah,
He
like,
wants to have-
I'm riding the fence. Taking a
There you
break.
go.
and-
All right, Jay, what do you say? So Ian, you're for 2 teachers, 2
Yes.
remedial teachers.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Jay?
Yeah, I definitely think we need to increase remedial instruction. But I think we need to leave it to, have we heard from the principals about whether it would be better to have the 2 teachers or, you know, Matthew's the one that brought up, I believe, using it as tutors.
Mhm.
So I definitely support an increase in remedial instruction.
Mhm.
However, whether it's going to be certified teachers or tutors, I think we have to let the professionals have a little leeway.
Amen. Mhm.
So we can fund it as remedial. But
right.
whether they choose, you know, principal says, I'd rather have a certified teacher or I'd rather have 2 tutors. And that's why we hire them
So.
and Susan to make those educational decisions.
Just a quick clarification, so if the 160 carries, then that creates actually 4 tutors, possibly. If it's
5.
five, up to 5 tutors.
And that would give Mike his tutor at the high school. I don't know if he would.
Well, and I just
accept that.
I just recommended that I ask, because I know that we have had a staff member who's still working for us, who teaches ELA, and she is also a certified reading teacher, and she always has helped out, like on one of the days. So I want to find out too, if that person, if the schedule will allow her to do reading instruction, because I think that's really critical. If, you know, if we have it in the schedule, we have enough ELA teachers to teach, then, you know, we can maybe switch her either.
Which school is she at?
Fitch High.
Fitch. Okay.
But we probably lost it in math tutoring or something, right? Because the person went to science, but
Oh,
I like, thank you, Jay, for bringing me back, because it is, I would like to, you know, we're at the function code level where we can, you know, raise or lower things. I think that's very appropriate for the board. Yeah.
Dean, what do you have to say?
I think we're talking about it from the point of view of, we would like tutors, we would like remedial people, we would like certified teachers. How do I know? Because we have nearly 30 now that we're proposing, all right, 29.6. How do I know that that's insufficient? Other than it's always nice to have more. What, and the other question I have is, if we say, yes, let's do this, how are we gonna know if it actually worked? Or are we just applying, you know, needless horsepower and the boat's still gonna go 5.5 knots? Theoretical whole speed, right?
We do have testing.
yeah, we do.
That's what I'm gonna say. So if the testing, if the numbers show, hey, our test scores have improved, we'll attribute that next year or the year after that, we'll attribute that to our increased remedial budget or whatever you want to call it, right? And what happens if it doesn't work? Do we apply even more? Do we say, hey, 5 people that we hired hit the road? What do we, because you didn't do your job? How are we gonna assess this?
Because I heard that when we had the tutors, that they were really helpful and the test scores did increase with the tutors.
Okay,
Especially those high
Because the
doses.
tutors work with a smaller group too.
right,
now.
right,
You
exactly.
can hire a teacher, but you don't want a teacher working with 5 students, do you? Where a tutor can work with a smaller group and be more impactful to me than a teacher in a big classroom.
Well, I'd love a teacher to have 5 students, but
Yeah,
no, I
right.
can afford that.
I think
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I support what Jay was talking about. I would like to push the number and just say it's, 2 or 3 principals can decide how best their money can be spent between reading and math in elementary school.
But we're
And,
making a commitment to
but
review.
we're making a commitment to that number and then which function code it falls through into, we'll let Susan get back to us. on that.
Yeah, I'd like to ask.
So I'd like to kind of support that line of thought, if that's what you're talking about.
Now I'm kind of confused because when we saw remediation, right, we were shocked, 3 point, right? And we said, oh, we don't want that to be so high. Now we're adding to that line and making it higher. I thought we wanted to get lower and I don't know.
take it out of that line and put it in another line. I mean, I don't want to be a captive, be a captive of the nomenclature. It's what we want to have happen that we need.
I'm not for 2 teachers, I'm for the tutors myself. I think the tutors would be more impactful.
Can I add to that to try to respond to Dean's question?
No, you can't because Ian had his hand.
I apologize.
Okay. Go ahead, Ian.
Well, I was gonna, to respond to Dean's question, and this circles back to something I mentioned earlier, like, what I think we should do is if we're gonna, whatever we do for the remedial instruction or the tutors, however we spend this money to try to improve overall performance, is to do the anonymized tracking of caseloads. All these tutors, all these, remedial instructors do work with students. So, and a student is not just a test score. A student is overall performance and engagement with material and its progression. It's not an achievement to a certain benchmark necessarily. It's progression towards
Yeah.
that. So, I think on a very granular level that could be captured, but it would have to be done through like portfolio work combined with grades and standardized tests and all that stuff. So the portfolios have to be like anonymized so that we could create the data set. Basically just student A, this like instructor A has, students 1 through 6. And students 1 through 6, you can see this progression. Student 1 did this, student 2 did this, student 3 did that.
Not we, the staff.
Right, the staff could do this, but we should,
Not we, the board.
but then again, you asked, how do we prove this? And we need to defend our budget. So if we want to add these positions in the belief that they do improve student progressions, then we need to be able to capture that data and show it to the public in some form or fashion that is respectful of privacy, but does demonstrate the data, the science-based, approach towards education. So I think it's possible. And I think it would benefit the school district as well internally to do that. And all you have to do is just redact all the names, and identifying materials and just show us the results. So that we can defend the budget as vigorously as.
Well, they can summarize and.
Right, yeah, summarize, like, it's say, this student, this caseload, advanced towards,
Right.
Nothing better for you.
the group, big group.
I'd be in favor myself though of just putting the money in and saying for the principals, you figure out whether you want a tutor, if you want tutors or you want staff.
I'm fine with that approach too.
I already have a report. The high dose tutoring that happened in the middle school through 9th grade
Mhm.
really showed progress. I wish I could have kept them till the end of the year because they were going so strong. And then we ran out of money.
Well,
But I was like
at the
saying, do we
Cape-
have any other grants? Can I use Title I? I
At the-
really wanted to keep them.
At the Cape Workshop, the lady did say Groton did a good job with their tutors.
They told us that the cohort that they were having on this grant, that of the students, almost all, this was in a 8-week period. I mean, it's a short period, one semester.
Yeah, it did last long. They gave. us
Almost
money.
all got at least 1 grade level.
Is that,
Very few jumped 3 grade levels.
Yeah.
But more than a few jumped 2 grade levels in this short time. The question is whether this approach will work only for math, where it seems to be proven, or whether it's a transferable approach. So if this is what this is what the board wants to have happen. Maybe the superintendent would consider the possibility of some in math and some in literacy, so we could have a test run to see if it's transferable. Because if we can use high-dose tutoring to really improve the academic outcomes, that's a less expensive way to go about business.
They also tried some new materials that were both digital and print, and we purchased those. So we have those materials. So if we had tutors, we call them high-dose tutors, we
Okay,
could
good.
train them.
All
And they
right,
could
so
do
what do
it.
you, we gotta move along here. So what do you wanna do? Do you wanna hire all teachers or do you wanna leave it up to the principals? Do you wanna leave this line item in, leave it up to the, and then put Clint still waiting too?
Let me talk to
And,
the principals.
and see what they wanna do. Michael, make it short, Michael.
Very short.
Thank
Just
you.
want to say that the proposed budget, right now, superintendent's budget, in the tutors column overall is up 11 from last year. Recognizing that last year's budget was way down because of RFS or going away. So last year's budget, just overall for tutors, had 19.5. This proposed budget without this addition is 30.5. And it's up, I think, it's up 5 at the elementary level. And I'm not saying that's enough. I'm just pointing out that there already is a provision in here to start building back that capacity.
And those were,
And
I
then we'd be talking about adding to that beyond that.
think most of those that we added back were EL and SEL.
So you're a no, Michael?
I'm still absolutely fine with having that number up there be even from last year. So I'm halfway.
Yeah, right.
I'm good to 80,000.
What about you, Matthew?
I'd like to go for the amount, the 160 that we were talking about. I would personally hope that Susan would encourage the principals to consider the tutorial route, but that's obviously her decision. It's operational.
Okay, thank you. Jen?
We'll change from 0 to 80 with Mike.
0 to 80. All right,
Hold on.
okay. Ian?
I'll do the 160, but and with the delegation to the principals to figure it out, but I would like a report of what the decisions were and also data capture from last year. And what we did get with the high-dose tutoring, so we can start
Oh, yeah,
understanding that.
I
and
do
then-
have that report. Yep.
And then plan for data capture.
Yep.
In the coming year with the, wherever they get allocated.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'd like to align my remarks with Mr. Thomas.
okay,
Okay.
And I would like to move to Clint next, if we may.
okay, thank you,
before We
Jen.
go to the rest
Yeah,
of this.
Jen, thank you. Dean?
I'd like to thank you all for the luxury of being able to do this. I'll speak for skeptics and because you don't need my vote, so no.
No. I'm putting you over in the left field.
I'm a moderate.
No,
Could take care
and I'll say, who did that? Oh, it was Dean.
So you a no, Dean?
Yeah, I'm a no. Nobody's gonna blame me for sinking this.
Okay, what were you gonna say, Beverly?
I'm gonna go with Michael. You know,
One.
yeah. I'm gonna go with that, because again,
We're voting.
I'm only gonna support this if we find efficiencies in other area,
Correct,
because I don't want the budget to go up.
agreed.
I don't want it to go up. So
I don't either.
If we don't find
I was so
efficiency,
pleased.
this is a wish list to me. You know, we don't find efficient. I think we
Yeah.
should go find efficiencies
Well,
first
I'm
and
gonna be
then.
talking to the principal about that. Every principal, every CO, before I meet with you guys again, I'm gonna say,
But
let's look at this.
But maybe some board members have efficiencies.
And
but-
you guys might have efficiencies
So,
too.
After,
I have
let's do this, after
efficiencies.
Clint talks.
Yep.
Let's see where the efficiencies are before we go to this add-ons.
Okay.
How's that work? Go ahead, Clint.
Come on down.
See if I can talk efficient too.
The three of us.
And Dean.
Yeah, we've been here all day.
Well, it's pretty close.
7:43.
We're just gonna write eighty.
But Dean was a definite no.
You would think someone in maintenance would be able to fix the cost.
Yeah, Dean was a definite.
I keep hearing my name. I don't like it,
Yeah, that's
So
it.
I like your name. I have a son named Dean.
except it's not my name.
Oh, I know.
Clinton, you got control?
I got control.
Very well then.
Well, if you want it back.
Nope. I'll take a pass on this one.
Go back.
Yeah, we gotta.
I didn't have anything, any efficiencies.
All right, just to set the stage here, what you're seeing is the aforementioned Christmas document. What we should stay focused on is the green at the top, because that is what is currently being proposed. I saw on the sheet that we were first talking about that there was a minus $100,000. So I think the conversation, as I understand it, is what is the priority for this and where do we find some efficiencies within that? If I may be so bold, this is all important. The main priorities I would focus on is certainly student Chromebooks, because we are getting we're getting a tragic area around that. Obviously, that is a big number. The biggest chunk of this, that would cover 2 full grade levels. And the other items, again, that I would like to at least consider keeping would be PA system. To me, it's a security issue at the high school and well overdue as the
Line
superintendent.
26. Oh, no, 7, no,
Sorry, yeah,
oh, sorry.
it's the 63,000 for FHS PA system.
number
It's the
6.
5th one down. As the superintendent mentioned previously, that was originally installed in 1976.
And I graduated from high
And
school.
we are doing our best to connect that to a modern VoIP phone system, but it is a challenge. There are, if we wanted to get to a $51,100 cut, and you can see my column over here, just adding the ones I added to that cut list would be the first 2 line items. It would keep the disaster recovery replication servers. It would keep the backup batteries for infrastructure. It would keep the PA system, and it would keep the student Chromebooks. It would eliminate additional chargers, miscellaneous monitors and desktop computers and the like, which are getting long in the tooth. But I'm prioritizing security and student devices in what I'm suggesting right now.
So when we go from, can we start from your top and say yes or no, or next year or whatever?
So
The
what
first
I'm
line.
proposing again would be cut the first 2 lines, the 7,500 and the 8,000, keep the 26,700, keep the 12, keep the 63, cut the 9,900, cut the 13,200, cut the 5, cut the 7,500, and keep the 2,3,400.
You sure you don't need those cases because they keep ruining things?
Could I ask for that delivered in a slightly different manner?
Sure.
Could you go by line number? Like 2 is an X, 3 is an X?
Again, if you're looking for efficiencies, this is my
Right.
priority. You want me to go with what I would keep or what I would cut?
Well,
I would cut line 2, line 3, line 7, line 8,
They go slow, Clip.
2, 3,
Uh-huh.
7, 8, 9, 10, keep 11.
okay.
All right, so you would cut the 7,500, the 15, the 127, the 140, the 145, the 152.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, to be fair, I believe it was Board Member Whitloff that brought up the question of leasing Chromebooks. And I have reinvestigated that, and there is a very small number of schools around the country that are doing that. And certainly that allows us to spend less up front and spend the same amount or slightly more over time with a lease. The main issue, as I see it with that, is a management issue,
And if they break?
not insurmountably. Well, we could pay more and have it like we do with the teacher laptops where there's an extended warranty. However, there is a management component to this. As I mentioned before, we often, you accidentally damaged yours, give me yours, here is a new one, a repaired one, what have you. We'll fix this and put it back into the inventory so that when a new student comes up. So there really isn't a physical device that you as a student always have. You have a functioning Chromebook, but that could change if there is some issue with the Chromebook. It would be upon my team, our team, the IT team, to really manage who's doing what to whom that way. So we wouldn't have that affordance to be able to swap and get students right back on the road. Yes, we could have a loaner, but there is a more management component to it. And as of right now, the IT department does not have any administrative assistant.
What's the numbers in yellow? What's that?
Those are if we were to take all of these lines 2 through 11, those are the assignments for which line items I'm proposing those go into in the actual budget.
Okay. Jenny, you know?
Clint, I know I asked this before,
What does this?
and if we let parents buy their kids their own Chromebooks and then we put whatever we need to put and it can only be used for that, like, why don't we let them do that again?
So we do allow students to bring their own device.
Yeah.
If their parents so choose.
Yeah.
They are limited on what they can do within the school network.
Yeah.
Because we do that to protect the network, so we're not introducing outside devices to the full aspects of it. So really, if you bring your device in,
Yes.
at the guest
pick it
network,
out.
you have a bandwidth limited pipe out to the public internet.
Yes.
You still provide some filtering because that's a federal law that anything we do in our schools, there has to be some level of filtering, but they don't have access to our servers, printers, things like that.
No standardized testing either. That's a biggie.
It is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
every student hits up against that.
So yeah, so we have a handful of students that bring their own computer every day to the high school. When it comes to state testing time, we then have to issue them temporarily a Chromebook, a school-based Chromebook, so they can complete the testing. It's a good point, Mike. Thank you.
Okay.
I just ask quickly, the Promethean boards, was that included in your could cut it?
It is. The reason it's on there is because I have had requests from schools. Right now, we have a Promethean board in every classroom. There are some additional educational spaces that they've reused other spaces to become an educational space, and they have requested that we put a Promethean board in there. So that's why I kind of honored that request in this budget. But again,
We could
from
hold off.
security and I want all this, I need all of this, but if you're telling me to prioritize, it would be security and student use. Promethean boards are used by students, but more times than not, they're used by a teacher or a tutor at the front of the room.
Yeah, because when we were in the culinary arts classroom.
At the
my
high
teacher
school.
Didn't have a Promethean.
Yeah.
She wanted one too.
She does, and it's hard finding space in that room on where I can mount that securely, because
We
one of
don't
the
have
two
any-
has it, one doesn't.
We don't have the rotating ones, like we used to have some that you could push down.
So yeah, we've put those in some of those spaces that have
Yeah.
asked for that. That's not a classroom, but is now being utilized as an
Right.
educational space.
Mike,
And we do have one in the Fitch High School, the library.
go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so just a short answer, thank you for helping us with this.
Sure.
And I can say an immediate yes to that cut and.
It's
and-
51-1 would be the cut I'm proposing from that.
And actually, I when I looked through, I was like, oh, it's only maybe the PA system, but you mentioned the security part of it, and I agree. And I guess it is old enough, though not really that old, you know.
Not that. old.
1976 isn't that old, right?
It's a year younger than I am. So, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's okay. But the biggest one is the student Chromebooks, and if this comes up later in the budget process with anybody, we can't go. We are a one-to-one
We are.
school
Can't
system,
go backward.
and I think every modern school system has to be there, unless somehow they're in a very wealthy district where a good portion of the student body can provide it. That's not our case, and this all used to be covered with DoD grant funding that we don't currently expect to have next year. And so there's often the argument, well, and I'll make it myself, well, we should really think carefully about bringing something into the town side of the BOE budget that was once grant. But I don't view that as this way, because that grant bought the physical Chromebooks that we have now. And this just going for replacement of 2 grade levels, that's a long cycle replacement of the whole system. You can't cut this down to 1 grade level. By the time you got through everything, it'd be worse than having to start back and painting the Golden Gate Bridge the other way. This would be, well, the Golden Gate Bridge isn't working anymore because the Chromebooks are way too old. And it's amazing that you've kept them run. Your team has kept them running this long. So I fully support keeping the student Chromebooks in for sure.
Ian,
Yes, so I just want to get clarity on the numbers. You said this is a reduction. So if we're looking at the tracker sheet, this would be the line that says reduce IT equipment. And Ray had put in a placeholder amount of 100,000.
You did.
You're saying this would be a reduction of 51?
If my math is correct,
Yeah,
if we go with that, and I just put a little calculation right on the side, the ones that we're considering now only gets us to 51.1. It does not get us to the 100.
okay. All right, good to know.
So what would the total ask be
For
for the ones that?
for the entire equipment, it would be $386,891 minus 51,100.
Okay,
So that's, I came up with 335,971.
Should it be 791?
791.
Did I yeah, okay, sorry, transpose the numbers.
And if you need more, we can talk about the remaining 4 items and how we can trim that. If we want to.
I think we start with this and then march forward and see what else we can do.
Yeah, we have to circle back on
I'll
Happy to answer
change the tracker to the 51.1, and then we can move on from there.
Clint, could we limp along with the PA system for another year?
I have one resource in my arsenal where I can get spare parts to prop that back up, which I've already had to go to because of a lightning strike that we suffered earlier this year. And the PA was down for a day and a half.
And tell them what happens when it's down.
Yeah, so what we have to utilize, the only backup alternative to get communications to the entire building is through the phone system, which has the speakers on the phones, which works, but is often missed in a PE situation or in a classroom where there's a lot of noise and so forth. So I'm very happy that we have it as a backup, but using it as the main source puts us at risk.
Yeah, he already explained all
I
this.
think he did, I forgot.
Any other questions? So how do you feel about, the new number?
I'm fine, I'm in favor of the reduction of $51,100.
Jay,
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Dean,
Yay.
Michael,
Oh, yeah. I voted
Matthew.
twice.
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Adrian. Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Clint.
Thank you, everybody.
1 second.
We can give you the update on the Celtics game if you want, but you may be recording it, so I will.
That's what you're saying.
So,
We'll do all the rest of
Susan
it.
distracted me at the last
I'm
minute.
sorry.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I wanted
Thank
to
you,
see that
Clint.
game too with the Spurs.
Yeah,
These
exciting.
meetings are killing me.
No, it takes
I
away
know.
from your regular life.
3 in a row.
Yes.
This year.
I watch it when I get home.
Kitty?
I turn off my
Your
notifications,
house,
they record it.
I should do it on my phone right now.
What do we have the screen?
have
What do we have the screen
right there.
for?
Huh?
What do we have that screen for? Bring it up.
I'm very sorry to interrupt, but if I may,
Yeah,
speaking of meetings in a row, we have a 4th scheduled for tomorrow, which is curriculum, which is originally 100% online, has been now moved to
Hybrid.
hybrid. I have a conflict with one team member and another who will most likely be sick. Is there any way that the board would consider moving that back to a fully remote meeting?
I'm fine with that. Good.
The weather's probably bad.
And Andrea. will be-
And Andrew,
Maybe
Should be
talk with
very
me
happy.
managing.
Anne Marie will be happy because I can get her
Yeah, all
home.
right, we'll go
Yeah.
remote.
Yeah,
Thank you.
remote.
And while we're talking about, I think I'll be there, but there's that rescheduled concert.
Oh, that's.
I'm missing that. My daughter has.
You have to do,
You don't have to miss
go to that. You
Isn't
don't
the
have
weather
to
gonna
miss
be
it.
bad?
We could reschedule.
You're probably gonna have to reschedule it again. Isn't the weather bad?
Oh, I don't know.
Uh,
It's great.
yeah, it's supposed to rain.
I don't know.
I would love to go to the concert, but
Just have it there. Let's do
I
it.
fully support student events, so we would be okay with moving it as well.
all right, if Anne Marie's all right with pushing.
She'll be fine.
All right,
She had to go to bring her child to news.
so if Anne Marie's okay with us doing it later, we can
Yes, we'll reschedule.
Thank you.
So you're canceling?
reschedule it.
Yeah, well, you cancel and reschedule. It says cancel when they posted it says cancel.
Yeah, you gotta cancel one, then just.
Yeah. Okay. Next, is, where do we leave it? What about adding the elementary teachers?
Is there a function code I could jump?
We don't have any numbers for that, so
Right.
let's go back to that. Let's
Yeah,
only do the
it's
ones we have the
1101,
numbers
by the
for.
way.
Yeah.
Sped teacher for $80,000. Denise, you want to talk about that?
Can I get a function code for?
I don't know.
Yes, that should be 1230.
1230, thank you.
Yep. So we're seeing very large caseloads in the upper grades at Northeast Academy and Mystic River. They are 10 students higher than the other schools. So the caseloads at Mystic River and Thames River in grades 4 and 5 are 28 and 27. Whereas all of the other schools, Barnum, Kolnaski, and NEA, are 17 or 18. So it's making it very difficult for the teachers at those larger schools to really deliver specialized instruction, given the numbers of students and the space that they have to do that in the resource room. So right now we have one teacher who is split between between Thames and Mystic. And what we'd like to do is have her assigned to just one of those schools and hire another teacher at the other school. So instead of each school having a 0.5 special ed teacher in grades 4 and 5, they would have a full-time special ed teacher in grades 4 and 5.
So just to clarify, on the FTE sheet, we would see the 8.5 round up to 9 and the 6.5 round up to 7.
Correct.
Thank you.
And those high caseloads were coming from those two schools.
Yes, from the larger schools.
Okay.
As I think you all know, Mystic River, is a school that has a large number of students who are struggling in terms of meeting grade level standards. So, they are a high impact school, and Thames River, as well, has a large number of students with needs.
So how many, oh, never mind. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, I was actually kind of gonna ask the how many. So if you go to that function code, that 1230, I think Mystic River right now for just special ed certified as 8.5. And I think if I understood you, you'd raise that to 9. And then Thames River has 6.5 and you'd raise that to 7. Is that
Yes,
correct?
the reason why Mystic River has 8.5 is they have the autism program, which has 4 teachers, whereas Thames has the academy, which has 2. So the autism program has 2 more teachers, 2 more classrooms than Thames.
Mhm.
This teacher would be specifically for resource in grades 4 and 5.
Right. And then, so if I go, I think the total, well, I'll say this, the total budget from that green tab and in certified staff, there's 2 columns for this. There's special ed teachers and then bilingual, hearing impaired, psychologists, speech and language, special ed support services. This is all for certified teachers. That column is up 5 FTEs from last year's budget. But so I guess it must not be in here. Wondering where that is actually. I mean, it must not be in this function code 1230 then. I mean, there's hearing impaired and things like that too.
Are you asking Michael where?
Yeah, because so if the green tab, if you look at it, there's 2 columns, but they add up to 5 more FTEs than the adopted budget last year. And this is all certified, so it would fit in probably that 102. But I don't see it here. I see this up as like currently up by, I don't know, it's not up much. So I'm wondering where the other. So I thought it's positive that we're adding special ed, and I was wondering if we're duplicating that, not realizing it. but I don't know where those other five are.
Are you on page 4.4-2?
Yeah, 4-2. We've only have the numbers for this year in that column,
Mhm.
in those columns, but I think I did the numbers right. Because last year in the adopted budget, those two columns, that special ed teachers, that big one that starts with bilingual, they were just one column. And so this breakout's much nicer. But last year, that column had for subtotal BOE budget funded, that blue was 94.5 FTEs. This year, the two columns add up to 99.5, which is that 0.5 increase. But like it's not in the 1230, so it must be somewhere else. I mean, a little of it's in the 1230, but not most of it.
So your question is,
Yeah, where are the special ed teachers being added if,
Denise, do you
So-
hear?
Yeah, yep, I am. So at Barnum, there's you see 4 teachers on 1230, but on the page Mike's referring to, there's 5. The
Yeah.
additional teacher is our ECAT teacher. She is a special ed teacher and she's based at Mary Morrison. But since Mary Morrison is not an active school, she is counted here on this chart on page 4-2. She's counted in the FTEs with Barnum. Back in the function codes, she's counted in preschool. And then at Catherine Kolnaski, there's both schedules show 4 special education teachers. Northeast Academy shows 3. Mystic River shows 12.5 on the schedule Mike's referring to because the preschool teachers are included in there. Whereas in the function codes, the preschool teachers are coded in their own function under preschool. And then same for Thames River, you're seeing 9.5 on the schedule Mike's asking about. Whereas on 1230, there's only 6.5 because the preschool teachers have their own function code. So those are the additional teachers.
And at preschool in Thames, there are 3
Yes, and there's 4 at Mystic.
and
Because
4 at Mystic.
We have
Yeah.
we have a,
You have the ABA.
right.
Are they special ed teachers?
Yes.
The
They
preschool?
are, yes, they're all certified special education teachers.
So Michael, are you for adding, did that explain it to you? Michael?
it's close. So that's like 1205, that function code preschool. So I think I see there's the Mary Morrison, the Mystic River, and the Thames that Denise was talking about. And then that other column on that 4-2, the bilingual. I guess there must be, that must be in different function codes, but there must be an
Yes.
increase in
EL code.
but there must be an increase in those, I guess, because I'm
No,
not seeing that.
There's no
yet.
increase. No, those are the school psychologists, the teacher of the hearing impaired, the social workers and the speech and language pathologists are all in their own functions.
Together. And they're all lumped together on this column.
Yeah, and it looks like they put some bilingual teachers here, some EL teachers. So I think that's kind of a catch-all for teachers who just are not classroom general ed or special ed teachers.
But it is up, I mean, those two columns together are up 5 FTEs, and I couldn't find where that is. I am supportive of, as you say, the caseload. I guess I'm supportive of what we're talking about, adding a half FTE to Thames and Mystic River to help with the caseload. So I'm supportive on that question. I just can't figure out where the
Yeah, I
plus
think
5
we'd
are.
have to check with HR, Mike. She could have recoded some teachers because there has not been an increase.
Interesting.
What do you say? Are you done, Mike?
Yeah, I've got that question, but for this line item, I'm a yes. Yeah.
Matthew,
Yes.
Jen?
I had a question. Can I ask? So, Denise, can you reshuffle one person out of another school, like maybe like a Fitch or a Groton Middle where,
Um, Well,
Because they have because they have
that's a-
14.
Yep, that's a very good question, Jen. So at Charles Barnum, we keep the 3 special ed teachers intact because they also service our students with service plans at Sacred Heart School. So the psychologist, the speech path, and the special ed teacher are part-time at Sacred Heart. So they do take on extra duties. Catherine Kolnaski and NEA both have large numbers due to the magnet. So we really need to maintain the teachers that are there because they do have full caseloads. There really isn't a teacher with a caseload that could be combined or reduced. If anything, we do look for efficiencies in terms of which school is going to work at Sacred Heart. And for the past several years, it used to be NEA, but now it's the lowest enrollment has been Barnum.
My question was like, could you take it from Groton Middle or the high school? I wasn't Sting Elementary School when I,
Yep, no, those caseloads are all quite high too. We have caseloads of 16 and 17 in all of those schools.
We just reviewed that, Denise, today, remember? Trying to figure out how we can squeeze with the middle school. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
if there's
So the
nowhere to go,
middles-
then if there's
so the-
nowhere to go, it's yes for now until we find efficiencies, like,
Others.
yep, others.
Adrian?
I'm a yes, but I'm just gonna bring up that I asked this question 3 weeks ago on the caseloads for the special ed teachers. And then a couple of weeks ago, the answer was put up and it said it averaged 13 for the elementary schools. And I don't know who did that math. And then last week, I did all the math myself and came up with these numbers that were between 16 and 21.
Right,
So
we did the average per school, but right now we're not looking at the average per school. We're looking at the grade levels because the teachers are assigned to grade levels.
I just went through the budget book and looked at the special ed students as percentages in the front sheets of this by school, and then the amount of special ed teachers in it. And I, at that point, got similar numbers to what you're giving us now. And I understand that you did something that I don't understand how you came up with 13. I find it frustrating that we find it a new thing that's absolutely essential, in my opinion, now that, and we knew this all along. So I feel like this could have been known earlier, and that's why I asked questions and why I was disappointed with the answers. So I do support it. I apologize, but it is a little bit bothersome to me to find out tonight when we have all of these other additions to think about at the same time. So I
Yep.
do.
So again, our administrative assistants average the caseloads for each school. But right now we're looking at grade levels that are heavily impacted.
Those averages didn't work out in the math I did, but
Well, your math and her math, 2 different math.
now we're having the same math for
Okay.
some reason.
So we're happy.
So-
Now you're the
Everybody's
same.
happy. Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I'm in favor of adding the position and but as a note moving forward, I think maybe we should also discuss calculation formulas. So that we can understand how the math is being calculated,
Right.
in the future.
Jay
Yes, I support it.
and Dean,
Yes.
okay, and I'm a yes, so.
I just got very quick. Is remedial instruction considered special ed? Is that,
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Yeah.
no, that's out? Okay, thanks.
That's prior to.
I'm gonna switch down to Sam. Sam, I apologize. I'm gonna switch down to you because you're probably here for fuel.
Well, Ray's gonna address it, but I'm here to support him in any way I can.
Okay, so you're here for fuel, electricity?
Mhm.
And that's it?
Well, I just came in to see what's going on in the district so that
He's only been up since 4 AM.
We'll do the fuel and the electricity. Then you have options. You can leave
I
if
care
you
about
want
the
to.
doors.
We're gonna be on like degree setting in the building. Do you want it at 62, 64, 66?
All right, so the fuel line,
Future will
it's
be
an
our own.
increase of $100,000. They want to increase the fuel line. We heard what he said before. So we don't need to say it all again.
What
Said 50
function
to
is this?
100. Can we go with 50?
Okay, can we go with 50?
What function is this?
What function are we on?
You
Well,
could,
I'm just on the tracker sheet.
Right.
You
I'm not
had
on
asked
any function.
fuel for 100, but you said 50 to 100. Can we go fuel for 50? I feel like Jeopardy.
we could, I mean,
2510.
I'm more comfortable with the one.
Five,
Yeah, 5-.
I'm sorry, what? Ray?
510.
Page
That
517.
way I'm on the same.
This
page.
is just on the tracker sheet.
Okay, on a I would, you're about 75 to 100 shy, I think. So, but that's my own personal calculations. What's in your budget right now, the proposed budget, is the exact dollars for the projected fuel that we're going to use. Again, if we run over that projection, you have a cold winter, you could spend, right now, fuel is back up again, if you haven't noticed at the pumps. I got lucky, we bought at, I think it's what, 287, 289 a gallon, something like that, which is a good price. You'll be buying at 3.25 a gallon for whatever number of gallons you have, that you're gonna need to keep it open. I think we should be budgeting at least another minimum 50. I mean, you've got 100 in there. I would jack it up at least 50 more. If you look at fuel oil, you see 188. I would go with the 55 that you're short, that you're netting the save on.
All right, so you're saying we can reduce the 100,000 to 55,000.
I would go with at least 55. I would
Okay.
to that.
Can you
That
put that on your tracker?
I'm putting it in right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Jay.
So, Ray, you're talking about the fuel adjustment estimate.
Yeah.
But
Right.
what about, I realize that most of the buildings, this probably isn't as much of a issue as it used to be, but what about the heating oil?
That's
And-
that's the fuel oil there.
That's it.
That's what it
632.
is.
That's right. So
So you're saying this is fuel for the buildings and the buses?
No.
Is
No,
that-
just-
No,
just-
no, no.
This one,
this is line
Because-
633 in the function code
yeah,
that I have
Call
connected up.
buses gasoline, even though they burn diesel.
yeah. This is for.
All right, because the fuel for the buses is down by 133,000 this year.
Yep.
Did you get a chance to look at that? Is
Jay, we're just on this one now. We're
yeah,
going
well,
to-
but they're related. I mean, fuel is
Well, he's
fuel.
just doing 633 fuel oil.
Right, so just to clarify, we did pull up the function code, put it on the screen.
Mhm.
I believe, if my understanding is correct, this is what we're talking about.
Right,
You are
So
talking about this, yes.
633 that I have highlighted. Actually, if you look, all Ray is suggesting with the 55 number actually just squares us up to what was the last year's allotment.
Correct.
Um,
Now, if there's any
was
surplus, you could, go ahead, I'm
That's it.
sorry. Go ahead, Ian, I apologize.
So it's a zero change.
yeah, zero change
You know,
Right.
from,
from last year.
which I think, that I'm not my rotation here, but
Well, you're talking. so
I'm in
keep going.
favor of it.
Yeah, baby.
All right.
You're
Let's get it
okay.
done. Yeah.
What about you, Dean?
Yeah, I'm fine with 55.
Okay, Michael?
I'm fine with that. I actually think we might even wanna, why are we expecting it just to be zero? Right, like, shouldn't we build in like a 5 to 10% increase and?
Well, actually, Michael, I can explain that. We came in, last year's budget was 242, but that included a savings from the previous year's budget. But it also included some carryover for storage for prepaid fuel that we had. This year, we have a price reduction from, God, I think it was $3.10 a gallon to $2.87. I don't have the contract in front of me and I apologize, but it was a substantial savings. So when we put it into the budget, we didn't think that, and that's, again, I'll take the hit on this one. We should have added in any storage fees or any chance that 55,000 gallons wasn't going to be enough. In other words, we're projecting exactly what we think we're going to use this year. But if it's or next year, if it's a cold winter, you could burn another 10, 20,000 gallons of oil very easily.
We don't have any
That's-
filters.
Excuse me?
Everybody wear their coats and sweaters.
It up when it's
I'm
cold.
fine. I won't be there. You guys will be putting up with that.
Right, so-
Yes. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Matthew? Yeah,
I'm okay with it.
moving right along. Thank you, Ray. And the
Beverly,
next one is,
Beverly, excuse me, can I just provide clarification to Adrian's question about the caseloads? Because I did look at my data sheets.
okay, go ahead.
So Adrian had asked us to provide some historical data in terms of caseloads over school years. So the average 13 per caseload was an average over the course of the whole school year, and it was encompassing all of the teachers at the elementary level from every single school. And the data we're looking at tonight is from the most recent caseload report in January.
So if you're taking all of them, are you talking about the ones who might be in the ABA or the academy with half-sized class loads, caseloads?
No, nope, just
Oh.
resource from
Oh, okay.
September to January, from all of the schools. So all 5 schools over the course of this school year, there is a lower number because you have smaller caseloads at Barnum, Kolnaski, and Northeast. But when we're just looking at the most recent caseloads at Thames River and Mystic River in grades 4 and 5, they are 28 and 27.
Right, thank you, Denise. Okay, next is the electricity adjustment estimate. They want to increase that by $450,000.
Could I just ask, where is this in the function code? Which line?
I would say.
Oh, it's right above
31?
631.
Right,
Great, thank you.
631.
It's great to have these up, by the way. Thank you.
I know.
You're
Isn't he
very
doing a great job? He's like ahead of
Yeah.
us.
You should
like-
hire them.
I should hire him.
Same one before. It's 5-109.
So am I. So Ray, you want to say anything about this line?
Not really. It's a big increase.
Okay, increase, and no adjustments, you can't make any adjustment, this is 450,000 and that's it.
We are.
He's worried about the
I'm
450. I
very
talked him down.
concerned that you're going to be under budget. You're under your current, and I don't have a copy of the darn thing with me. If you look at your current budget, you're already running in a deficit of equal that. So if you
We
look
saw
at
that.
your current budget,
It's
your
like-
spend,
let's see.
and I'm going by memory and I apologize. I thought I brought it with me and I didn't have it.
Oh, 8 months in. Starts in July.
All right,
But
that's
your
okay.
current spend
July.
is in excess of your budget now, and you're running in the deficit. And my major concern is we're just gonna perpetuate that deficit.
Okay. Ian?
Yeah, I just want to get clear at this. So is that 450 on top of the figure that we see in line 631? Or is it just bringing that number in line 631 up to?
That is bringing it up to, that's actually increasing the 1.57 by 450,000.
Okay. So about $2 million for,
Yes, because right
Okay.
now, on our 2025 budget, we've got a 1.184, which is correct. I'm looking at it here now. We've got encumbrances now, but the sheet I'm looking at is about 3 weeks old, so this may have changed a little bit. My encumbrances are 867,000 in my projected spend for the rest of the year. I am running a $450,000 deficit right now as we speak. So
I don't want to delay this thing, but aren't legislators looking at the possibility of not charging schools for the COVID? Or
No.
when, how long are we?
Let me
gonna-
just-
That was my wishful thinking,
Chris said no, Chris said no.
Terrible.
but she's not there anymore.
There was just,
But the legislator's still there.
I know.
She's not.
But how long will they?
All right,
charge
let's
us?
move
They don't-
on.
That's not
Okay?
here. It's not gonna happen anytime soon.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jay, go ahead.
All right, so, Ray, just to nail this down, I did see in your last financial statement that we were over. Are you saying that you're encumbered now through June 30th?
we are encumbered through June 30th. Yes,
Right, so that deficit for this year is pretty solid.
right.
All right, and I'm gonna ask your indulgence whether I can go back to my concern about fuel for school buses. We can call it fuel, by the way. And 634, Ray, in the budget that you took on just a couple weeks ago, there was a decrease of 133,337. Have you been able to have anybody in the office look at the contracts for that to see if that decrease is justified?
this is.
Hold on, I'm double checking the calculation.
25,110.
2520, account 634. It's still fuel. When we put it in the bus, or we put it in the
Right.
building.
Right.
I'm concerned that we think that
Yeah.
somehow
Fuel.
magically the diesel is going to go down by 133. But diesel that goes into the buildings,
You're on what, 634?
basically,
It's pretty close.
yeah.
But they're saying the price per gallon went down for the fuel oil too. That's probably what this is.
The fuel for the buses, which is the diesel for it. That went down to, they're almost identical, heating oil and the diesel price. It's just, it's like 287 or 289 a gallon. So, this 254 isn't bad, but again, you make a good point, Jay. I would not increase it 133,000, but I would bring it up to about 300,000 just to cover. Again, you're gonna burn, if it's a cold winter, you're gonna burn more diesel, just like heating oil.
Sorry, but.
I know,
we-
I know.
You know,
Gotta
we
be
don't
real.
want to find out next year
Yeah.
that we under budgeted for something.
Listen, I mean,
It just doesn't make sense that we're raising heating oil 55 and we're reducing diesel 133. If they're-
Diesel, we budget for about, Jay, we budget about 95,000 gallons for diesel. We
Okay.
budget about 55,000 gallons for heating oil, believe it or not.
Being. We're on the fuel adjustment.
Right. So, oh wait, no, we're done with the fuel adjustment, we're on electricity.
That went there.
So on electricity, thanks, Jay. It's not icy enough outside, right? You gotta slip in here too.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so, so on electricity,
For electricity.
we're essentially looking for, and I understand, where we are, we're running behind. We're looking at essentially a 71% increase over last year's budgeted figure, which is not wholly writ. And we have under budgeted in the past.
Yep.
But if I compare it with the prior year, not just last year's budget, but with the unaudited figures from the first column, the innocent one, which we never really go back to. It winds up being an average of 24% annually from the previous year to the last year to this budget. I shouldn't be using the years, calendar years. You know what I mean? From two budgets, it's a 24% pop every year. I'm just trying to think out loud. Does that seem reasonable? Because I'm not the one who actually writes the checks at home. I know what I hear is that electricity prices have gone up dramatically.
They have.
It jives with what I've heard.
3 years ago, I was paying 7.5 cents a kilowatt hour at my prior school. They are now up to like 14 cents a kilowatt hour.
Double.
I mean, I don't know where the end is. I really don't.
Right.
It's just, when you're trying to budget, it's like you have to have a crystal ball, and I don't envy the position you people are in. We have to come up with some kind of a budget that everybody can live with. I realize that.
Well, we were
I
told,
am trying to be realistic. I don't think we've budgeted enough in this new, in the 26 budget.
we were told a number of years ago by somebody highly placed that electricity prices would necessarily skyrocket. So I guess we're here. Yeah, I mean, this isn't one of these things where whether it's a yay or a nay, it's a physical fact. Sounds like so. Reluctantly, sure, yeah.
But we're kind
Now,
of missing
we might-
information on budget, like to say that, like make that case. You know, like
Yeah.
for this one, this isn't a case of comparing it to last year's adopted budget, at least in the fuel oil or the electricity, because we were under. So that case needs to be like really there, because this is, as you said, like a 71% increase for electricity.
Yeah.
So Ray, do you, it sounds like you have at least recent numbers on what we've encumbered for each one of those for this year. I just want to write it
I'm
down.
looking at right now the electricity. We've got, let me give you the exact number. Now, this is as of a couple of weeks, so I don't have today's.
That's fine.
We had 867,356 encumbered. Okay, and we actually expended 762,937. So you've already expended, I call it 1.6 million if you want to round numbers. So we already spent what you have budgeted there for this year.
So what was that total that encumbered plus expended was what?
It's 762,937 and 867,357. And you only budgeted 1.84 for this year. So we've already, what we have projected for encumbrances and expenditures, we're already meeting that 1.57.
Got it.
That's without any increases that they're supposed to give us. That's my concern.
And then fuel oil, I think Jay had those numbers, but I didn't write them down.
Fuel
That's
oil,
633.
heating oil, we're projecting 55,000 gallons of use. Diesel, we're projecting 95,000 gallons. The diesel is pretty much stable, believe it or not. And they're both, I'm going to round up, call it 290 a gallon. I think it's a little less than that, but that's, so if you, I can actually show you, you'll see a copy of the agreement that we made with East River. We had,
Yeah, I don't need that. Just wondering about like what we've expended plus encumbered on six
oh, I'm
thirty-three.
sorry. Fuel
It's
oil,
fine.
we've expended 121.5 thus far, and we still have an encumbrance of 74.3. So we're just slightly over there. Gasoline, not gasoline, fuel for the buses, or they for some reason 634 they call it gasoline, but it's diesel for the buses. We've spent 137,180, and the encumbrance is 222,970. We're running a deficit there, which
Say that again. I didn't write it down fast enough.
222,970 on the encumbrances. Again, this was as of toward the end of last month. I mean, these numbers will have changed by the time you get your next report.
So Ray, you want to add the 450,000 to the 1,575,000?
I would, to be conservative, I would say you need at least 350. I went with
That's gone
450.
down to 350?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I can change that. Let's change it to 350. I'm trying to be realistic.
Yeah, please do.
Which one?
And that's for electricity.
5109.
So add 350.
Yeah,
Okay,
Instead of 450.
instead of 450, he went down to 300.
we should keep him talking.
It's almost my bedtime.
Don't be long-winded.
Yeah, no, I just want to say to Mike's concern about like how to explain the electricity driver as far as like when we defend this budget. It is the pandemic recruitment fee. That is a large part that works exponentially.
That,
So seeing a 71% jump in anticipated costs, it is what Eversource is doing, and most of our schools are serviced by Eversource. So we can firmly
I
point the
can-
finger right there.
and what I can do to help support what we're
Right,
asking
I'm gonna
for,
do it.
I can go back and I can pull this year's delivery charge and your kilowatt hours, what you're paying. I can go back another year and do it, and then I can go back a third year and do it. And you can see, you'll see what type of jumps you've had in there.
I'll recharge.
Right, that's good to see.
Yeah.
So
that'd be
I'll
good,
pick
good.
like the month of May or June or whatever, and we'll go back and we can do 3 sampling just to see. And if you calculate out what uses, you'll see that you've historically under budgeted on some of these. I almost guarantee it. You don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
And we have usually a number we're working towards.
That's
With that in mind, right, like just, can you track how much credit we're getting for our solar panels? Because if
I
I'm a-
can track the rebates. We received our first rebate of about, I think it's 19,000 and change.
It's around
coming
20.
quarterly. So I mean, we can start a tracker on that.
we only got one rebate so far, didn't we
One
put it in?
rebate so far. That came in
out
December.
of the base.
Oh,
They don't want to pay you right away.
Like impact aid.
yeah, okay, that's it. I thought we got more than 19,000.
Hoping we got like 200,000.
yeah.
It didn't work that way.
No, it didn't work that way.
Is this gonna be short?
Always.
No, it's not always.
always.
That's what I'm asking you. Go ahead.
Ian was bringing up the question of the charges for the COVID recapture. Senators Austin and Summers both said that it would be very important for as many school districts as possible to actually testify in Hartford. And that's a place we could testify, if nothing else, to spread the recapture over more years, so it's not all hitting us at once.
I knew it was legislation that was talking about it. I'll write it down.
Oh, Ian scratching his head.
Yeah, sorry, yeah,
You okay?
yeah, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
in favor of the adjusted number.
Just a quick question, Ray, when you say we got 22,000, is that since inception and to when?
No, we received 19,000 2 days. This was in December. Well, that's the first check that we've received, to the best of my knowledge.
That's why Jen's surprised.
And I just don't understand, is that just like really delayed from the first month? Or is that?
Jay, I just found out we got the check, and I've instructed them to apply it, the credit against our, the
I would just like to see the statement. It's really no wonder that Groton Utilities doesn't participate, because there's no way to pay back these solar panels with that kind of peanuts coming.
Mhm, exactly,
So that's why they won't get involved with those.
you know.
Okay, so is everybody in favor of increasing electricity by 350? Are you all set, Jenny? I'm sorry. You're set. By 300. Michael, did you have something else to say?
No, but I do have something else on this function code, if while Sam's here.
Okay, then.
Oh, but I don't want to delay this one.
Okay, so everybody in favor of the 350,000 increase?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now, I hope somebody's keeping adding all these increases.
He's
up.
doing it. Ray's
We
got his
we got-
tracker. He's
No,
got
no,
it.
no, the sole sheet that we did.
You're at an
On this sheet. Oh,
8.7
he's
increase.
doing
He's got it.
Okay.
He's got it.
All right.
I'm just concerned if the current year deficit is 450. I just don't want to go into this under budgeting. That's why I brought this up a month ago.
So you think it should be 450? You could vote no.
We could split the difference.
No, I think we have to go by the actual data. And the data shows that we're in a deficit to that amount.
Of what, 450?
Yeah, for the current year. I don't think it's gonna go down.
But the diesel price goes, or the fuel oil price goes down. But did you want to put some in the pupil transportation? I don't know whether we really did that.
No, I was just
that's
talking about
not-
electricity.
He's just talking about
Yeah.
electricity.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, electricity.
Oh, yeah.
So you think we should stay with the 450,000?
I mean, I hate to be the wet blanket, but I mean, that's what the numbers are showing, right? And unless we think that electricity prices are gonna plummet, there's something I don't know about.
No,
I have rotten utilities. I'm good.
But the number,
Unfortunately, I live on
the
green
number,
side
the
of that.
budget's already up, the starting number's already up like 390,000.
Yeah, but I was comparing it to what,
Yeah, that makes sense, Jay, what you're saying, because if we're already under the 450,000 this year, we probably
yeah. But the
probably
increase
safe to do
is-
450,000.
the
What
projected-
Jay is trying to say is you're already, your expenditure's already 1.5 million. If you add up everything. So
And what-
you're already in the hole. So adding another 450 would bring you up to where technically where you're at now.
Are we supposed to get like 19,000 every month for
No,
solar?
quarterly. Quarterly.
What?
Quarterly.
Quarterly?
Now there's probably a summer commitment that came through, so.
Well, so do you think, do you want to go back up to 450? How do you all feel?
So Jay, you're saying that being or maybe raising this too, being 450K in the hole right now, it's not gonna end there this year? What you're saying for electricity?
I don't have a crystal ball, but I just.
Because we haven't encumbered everything maybe for that?
Did
or-
we encumber?
Everything is encumbered. That's
It's all
one thing I made sure of last summer, that we encumbered everything that we could encumber. We tried not to over encumber because then the auditors would frown upon that, which I could understand. So we tried to encumber everything that we can legally encumber. With the best knowledge that we have at the time. So you try to project out what your electricity is. Now, what I do, I don't know if previous people have done it that have been in my place. We will review the encumbrances periodically to make sure they're still accurate. And we're getting close to that time because we need to come up with a projection. What are we looking like for the rest of the year? So within the next 30 to 60 days, we need to come up with, in other words, I have to true up the encumbrances that are there, is what I'm saying.
So Sam, what do you think, Sam? Let's say your thoughts on this.
Well, if you ask me, I'd stick with the 450, but based on what I've seen with electricity, I don't think it's gonna. Is it possible?
Yeah, I'd actually listen to Jay and everyone else discuss this and thinking about it. I'd rather stick with the 450 as well.
I'm going that way too.
I mean, worst case scenario, if we do better and we have stuff left over, we do have a non-lapsing fund and we can, I'm sure there's other places we could reallocate that money at the end of the year. So I'd rather have a little bit more in this and be ready. Yeah.
What do you say, Dean?
Oh, why not?
What do you say, Mike?
I'm sorry.
What do you say, Mike?
Well, so versus this current budget year, we're increasing it by what? Like 740,000?
No, we're
Total?
not.
'Cause
I'm not
nine-
increasing this budget year. We're increasing the 26 budget next
No,
year.
I know, but like what we have in front of us, that line
How much?
that's highlighted, it's already
Up
up 391.
391.
And then we'd be tacking on 350.
450.
Well, I'm
We're
saying
tacking on
350.
450.
Well, regardless, so if it's 350, it's 740,000. If it's 450, then it's 800. And that seems, that's just like, we're building in a lot of cushion, it feels like. Maybe we need it, but I don't know.
Well, you're presuming that last year's budget figure was actually accurate. It's proving not to be accurate.
Yeah, true. And so that brings us up to last year's budget.
Right, so if you take the 450 deficit that we're trending towards in 2025, add that to the 1,184,000 number? Was that the right one to add it to?
Yes.
Okay, so that's actually showing like roughly like a 1.5 number.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, or 1.6 almost. So yeah, so basically like the increase would be 450,000 on top of the savings expenditure.
Okay.
Yeah, you have something to say? You had your hand up.
No,
Like this. Are you gonna-
So, I'm sorry, I've just got to go backwards. So we have 1.575 in the budget. How much do we think we're going to spend this year on electricity?
1.575. That's our projected spend right now. And
All right,
that's
so that's the
which means
projected
you,
spend at June 30th. We think it's gonna be around there.
correct.
So we're saying that so this is a cushion on increase, the 450.
That's not what I heard.
It's a projected increase based upon not knowing what DPUC is gonna do.
Yeah, that just seems like a big projection. It's like what, 20% or 23% or something like that. And we think there's gonna be a 23% increase on electricity over the year.
What-
And I
Well,
mean, we could look at it a little closer and look at, which buildings are Groton Utilities and which buildings are Eversource, because Groton Utilities is probably gonna be a little bit more stable.
How much?
So that means Eversource would have to.
There's like one building.
I know, I just heard Groton Middle is.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Remember, they said.
It's
that-
Eversource.
Oh, I thought you said to me this.
We need to start running.
The high school's split.
Yeah.
The power does run behind Fitch.
We changed the address of Groton Middle.
So how do we feel, because we gotta move on here. How many people want the three?
You guys tell me, it's your budget. You tell me what.
Okay, so hold tight, right? How many people want the $350,000 increase? Raise your hand if you're going with that.
I'll go 400.
So nothing for 350, 400,000.
Yeah.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and 450,000. Now it's gonna be 4. All
Oh,
right,
I'll vote.
It's 425.
425.
425.
There you go. It's not
All
a-
right, Greg.
it's not a real vote.
$425.
My gosh.
Do you have a question for Sam? Sam, we may already do this, but do we have the capacity, or if we don't already do it, do we have the capacity to put timers on our HVAC system so that we can turn our temperatures down a little bit at night, or
We already do that.
we already do that? Okay.
Yeah, I've been in buildings where it just shut down.
Yeah.
You can actually tell.
Okay.
Why wasn't this part of our budget?
Go to
we were
nice setback.
originally looking at? Because I was expecting to add teachers, paras. And now I'm worried about operational stuff that should have been provided to us sooner.
Well, let's not get into that. Jen.
No, okay.
Next item.
Oh, on this function code.
Yeah, what'd you say, Mike?
So since we're on this function code, I forget what the number is. 510 operation maintenance. If you go a little lower down, there's a 731 line, which is replace non-instructional equipment. If it's just a little lower. I think that's the truck we've been talking about.
Yes.
And that I had targeted. I know there's a need for the truck in general, but in an uncertain year, that's non-instructional.
Well,
And I wonder if we could.
there
do
have been
that.
there have been, well, we used to be on a schedule, and the last 3 years, we have not replaced anything.
Yeah, I know.
Then we lost.
So this will be the 4th year in a row.
Yeah. Yeah,
And we lost the truck.
yeah, I know. I know all those things. I appreciate it. I'm not saying this is like.
It's on my target
superfluous.
list.
Can I just say that I had to-
Cut that doesn't directly affect, it's not instructional. It doesn't, it's pretty far away from the students, though I know how it fits into the whole system.
Let me tell you, I had to do a 3-hour delay because we didn't have that extra truck.
The
I
kids
was
love
gonna do a 2-hour delay, but Sam said we need to do a 3-hour delay because they didn't have the truck.
No.
So it does
I
affect
would-
them.
As a,
Sam, you better defend this truck if you want this truck.
It was
Well-
on my hit list too.
Well, you can cancel out the truck if you want, but
But
Kind of hold on.
Sam, but
Go ahead, Sam. I'm sorry.
that's all right. I mean, you can cancel out the truck if you want. I'm fine with that. But then we will be paying more to repair the vehicles that we have presently. So that the vehicle that should be replaced will stay in the system, and the cost of that will go up throughout the year. So,
But we lost a truck too, so you're down one.
right, I'm down a truck, but the oldest truck we would replace would cost us more throughout the year. So, we have the shared services with the town. And one of the things they do is repair our vehicles, and then send me a bill for it. And we pay for it.
For all of
So-
our shared
Nice to
services.
share.
And
Right.
if you don't get the
How about
truck
like
this
when
year,
they
the
use
cost
the
is
building?
go up next year, plus the cost of. the-
Yeah, and it isn't just a truck, it's a plow, you know, so
Oh, it's a plow.
Yeah,
it's a plow with the truck, yes.
that's why the delay.
And we got
Okay.
$25,000 this year for it, right?
They, there was a 25,000, roughly a $25,000 check that came in
I
for it.
thought it was for last year, 24.
Last year it was, yeah.
So, I don't know if you wanna think about cutting the truck or.
How much was the truck?
It's in the $70,000 range.
Well, we could put it on the tracker and just consider it and then.
Oh, so it was on my
Okay.
list.
Yeah.
Is a lease?
You already
an
scratched it?
option? Is a
No,
lease? a
I'm
lease an
typing it on the
option that
list
kind of
now.
vehicle?
But we didn't vote whether to cut it
No,
yet.
no, not yet.
And I just
It's
added
just
it,
on the list.
I just brought it up because we're on that call.
Yeah.
We don't have to vote on
I-
it right now. It's out of order.
Right.
It's out of our order
My
here.
question was whether a lease was
You'll
feasible.
bring it up again.
Me?
Oh, yeah. Have we ever leased
It's a-
a truck?
I think, not that I'm aware.
Sam?
I don't know if we're allowed to by policy. I think we'd have to look into that.
Jan.
I know that we can't buy used vehicles.
Really?
There might be archers running up to the walls right now to point at me, but is it possible to have a little bit of snow help from the town?
We get some help from the town, yes. The town does Fitch High School for us. We clean it up a little bit after them.
Yeah.
The city does Thames River for us, and we go in and clean up after that. So they actually did quite a bit more than usual. Oh, and the town does Kolnaski for us, or at least the driveway up.
All right, so I assume if we ask for more from them,
Um,
they don't have.
They're, well, they're in the same,
Yeah.
they're,
Yeah, they're down there.
they're down people, and from what I understand, some of the drivers don't drive during snow or don't come in to plow snow. I don't know. Some public works drivers. I don't know what their rating is or whatever, but from what I understand, they don't have enough drivers to.
It's not only for snow.
And in addition to that, their priority is to get the roads, so
Yeah.
they don't get to Fitch High School or Kolnaski until the roads are done in town and fully, so.
Hence the 2 up.
Yeah, well, this morning, you know, they were getting there when I was talking to Susan on the phone, they were just getting there, so.
It's at GMS.
But they do help us.
All right.
They used to do more, but they have less people available. I don't know if they were.
Oh, my speaker was only had the snow.
They didn't plow it?
No, I'm just saying.
Did they sand it?
Sometimes why you're the plow. Like it just. I'm sure they have.
I'm sorry, I put this back on. I'm sorry, I'm starting to cough again. Hated you all. Can we get a used truck like
We-
from a wealthy district?
We're not allowed to buy used vehicles.
To buy
But
used?
he's gonna check on leasing.
Who doesn't allow us?
It's in the policy.
Policy.
We could have a meeting tomorrow night on that policy.
Might be a town.
Is it a town policy? Like, I mean, we could buy one from like a Glastonbury or something.
No. No, we don't want somebody else's headaches.
Where do we go from here?
All right, so next, so the truck is on the tracking list. We could decide the next time whether to keep it or eliminate it. I'm gonna
What
vote
item
to
is
keep
that?
it myself.
Just to let you know, you're down to 8.3%.
Oh, geez, all that work.
Okay.
We're getting there.
All right, so what's health benefits up 600,000?
Hold on.
Again, I would leave the health benefits and workers' comp alone for now until I talk to the town. I'm gonna try to get to them tomorrow. If not by Friday morning, I need to discuss with them exactly how we're showing it to make sure that we're all on the same page. I don't want any surprises.
Okay.
Yeah, just a question for the health benefits. Were we capturing the nurses' health benefits in the last version of the budget, or was that out? So the nurses line didn't have health benefits in it. And So are we capturing that now as part of that 600,000, or was it already somewhere else in the budget that I just didn't see it?
We didn't have them last
I
year.
know it's in the new budget. I'd have to go back and validate the old budget. I know salaries we were collecting against specific lines within the budget. So that we're
No.
transferring that off. So
So
go ahead.
if I go to the budget that we have, it's 991,000 for
Page you go.
No,
on 5-81. 991,000 for the salaries and wages. Then there's a Medicare number in there. But I didn't see any other healthcare number in there.
Well, I believe it was a one flat number that was brought in when it came over. And I'm looking,
Well, the town used to spend 1.3 million roughly on nurses, and I know we're doing it in-house now. But
Yeah.
the 770 for nurses, if that is,
581.
I don't want to do the math wrong here. I think that is 9
Thanks.
nurses. It doesn't seem like that would include 9 salaries of, whatever, 70,000 plus, what's health insurance, somewhere around 35,000 or something.
again, it depends per nurse. It depends on which plan they take. So you've got.
But I don't
multiple
see any
plans.
numbers. I don't see any numbers on 5-81.
I don't either, to be honest with you.
770 by
Was
9.
was part of their deal because the VNA broke the contract that they were going to provide the health services for this year? I felt like I
believe-
remember that.
I
we can
believe
ask
so. I'd have to
Trevor.
go back and check all our notes.
Yeah, we got to look at
So I
that.
guess my question is just to make sure that it's in there somewhere.
Well, I see it in there now, like Ian has 2130 up there now. I see some Medicare in there, but I'm not seeing health services supplies.
Yeah, Medicare's in there at 12,000, but that's not it, right?
No, that's not it. No, if we do have it now, it's captured in the all-encompassing 1700 code.
Yeah, but it has never been in this function code. So I guess we don't have to belabor on this. Just take a look at it. And if it wasn't included before,
430.
let us know and include it
Yeah,
somewhere.
I'll double check it. I'll make sure.
It's been up since February.
All right,
Question
you
for-
get back to us on that, Ray?
Yep, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Question for Ray on the nurses.
Mhm.
Ray, on the nurses, we put in 70,000 for a 10th nurse. And I divided the 770,000 and change by 9, and that comes up to 84,000 and change per nurse.
Remember, the tracker was just an estimate. I did not have exact numbers yet.
They're actually, there's a real range. There's some that
Yeah,
are
maybe
very
it was
new, they're
70,000.
even less than that 70 number, and then there's
Yes.
some maybe a little higher.
Yeah,
So,
Susan,
this
Susan, if-
number-
Susan, I
Yeah.
would just share that every single nurse except for one who worked for the VNASC came over to the district. And by and large, they're a very experienced group. They have
Okay.
a lot of experience, and a lot of them don't only have their RN, they have their BSN. So they
Wow.
have advanced degrees.
Okay.
Mhm.
I did put it in as an estimate for 70 on the nurse. I'll verify with Lori the actual, what we expect to pay next year, and I'll revise the tracker.
Well, hopefully the number on line 153 is high and we can reduce it.
Okay. Okay.
I think we're all set with this sheet.
What about the contingency? Are we going to take it
No.
out and just not deal with it and wait and see how
Is it-
negotiations go?
Why don't you get rid of it, see what everyone
Yeah.
says.
Huh?
Mhm.
Says remove contingency.
I'm in favor of that.
Everybody.
Aye. Move contingency.
What is it?
You.
Somebody tell me where the 100,000 comes from. We had a
Practice.
contingency in here.
Good for it.
Oh, it's power struggle. I'm in favor of removing the contingency, but I think we should reflect on actually operations and maintenance. If some of that should go in there,
Right.
like 20K or something should go in operation maintenance.
Um,
Yeah, so I'm in favor of removing the contingency. That's our BOE line function code, I'm good with that.
Okay.
So,
To take 20,000 out and put it somewhere. else.
yeah, just we'll come back to that, I think, but that,
You said
Okay.
operation and maintenance?
it seems like,
Maybe we could add that to the track.
Truck. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
but actually, back to the truck, if they really haven't, the tracker, I think so, truck.
I'm doing a rough note.
Oh, sorry.
here, so I know Ray's doing his thing.
Yeah, I said truck.
Yeah,
I
back to the,
thought that's what Ian said. But Ian said truck.
the truck tracker, if they've not put any money into replacing fleet for 4 years, I think anyone in the town would know that's unsustainable, so. Yeah.
So how are you for removing the contingency? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, Jen,
Oh, yes, sorry.
Adrian,
Yes.
Ian,
Yes.
Ian said yes already. Jay,
Yes.
Dean,
Are we talking about the object code 900, but we have in our budget is 102,000, et cetera, contingency figure? Is that what we're looking at eliminating? Is
what
there?
page are you on?
That's what I
I'm
was
on
thinking.
212.
What would be the function code?
I don't know what the function code is. Saying the object code is 900. It's
The
a,
board.
It is the.
One on the board of
Yeah,
ed.
okay.
Under-
Do you know what that number is?
Yeah, so we have, it's $102,275.89.
What about it's 594?
5 million.
What page are you on?
I don't know.
I have 594. in my sheet.
Oh, yeah, we have,
Yeah.
we budget 102,000,
I
right?
know, that's right.
Yeah, it's function code 2311.
And yeah, maybe we give that to a truck.
Yes.
I have a note that,
100.
I have a note that somebody recommended already shifting it all into operations and maintenance at a
That was
previous.
Mike.
To be moved, I have in my notes.
Okay.
Question mark.
So we're in
To be
favor of
filled in,
removing it?
so-
Nevertheless,
maintenance,
this is what we're
da, da,
talking
da,
about,
da.
this 102,000 figure, so
Right.
Yeah.
are we voting? to-
Tracker was kind of,
Okay,
yes.
So we're voting to remove it.
yeah.
Want to remove 102,276 and just eliminate it?
Mhm.
Yes.
Wait a minute, wait a second. So right now we're providing for this. We're having it in here as a, I'm sorry, yeah, as a decrease. You're right. Never mind. I thought we had our plus and minus signs backwards. You're right. Thank you.
Okay. So everybody's in favor of removing it.
That's fine.
Okay.
Skin tight.
So what do we have now, Ray?
8.37, because we just changed it by $2,276, that's all. Because it was a proposed change that was in there. So
Wait.
you're, right now, you have a net increase of $7,357,747.57, or an increase of 8.37%.
Oh, hold on.
8 point what?
37.
Haven't started on the decrease.
Okay. Well, because we added stuff too.
Yeah,
Michael.
right.
Yeah, well, so actually, just for perspective, last year's budget increase from, the adopted budget last year versus the year before, the dollar amount was 6.5 million increase. And so right now we're at, with that number, we're at something higher in dollar amount than last year's increase, which was a tough road to get through in a less uncertain year. And so I'm just wondering, I know it's happened in the past where, can we do pick a number, 7% increase or a 6% increase? What would that budget look like? It's very effective. I thought, Clint coming in here and saying, I can't cut 100,000, but
Yeah.
I can get 50. And
That's the
It's
kind
like-
of thing I need to do with everybody. And I will do that. I really need to sit with each of the directors, to go through and prioritize and see what we can.
Let's talk about, Dean, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, on the contingency, I want to make sure, this is why I was confused before. When we voted get rid of it, we mean actually approve this $100,000 in parentheses.
To remove it, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Good. So I want to make sure we're not lining that one out because, all right, when we say get rid of it.
It's true. Double negative. It's a double
Not the
negative.
double negative, just the
Yeah.
positive.
From here.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask, what kind of increase, you can go around and talk about, like, what kind of increase are you board members looking for? Are you looking for this 8.37%? Or what kind of increase are you definitely looking at?
That's not going to sell. And what they're gonna do is they're not gonna do it for us. They're gonna send us back to the drawing board. So we may as well just do it now.
So what kind of increase are you looking for?
Oh, whatever we think is sellable.
So what do you think is sellable?
I don't know.
Okay, Jay, you could think about it, Dean, and come back. But Mike already knows what his is, so I could jump over to Mike.
Well, I actually will also say, I don't see any way you could get this down to like 5% even. Or like maybe even 5.5, doesn't even seem like you can get down that low. Like my basement seems to be like 6, and I'm not even sure that can be done.
I'm not,
So, yeah.
Psychological.
yeah. So you're thinking 6.
I mean, like, let's see, is that possible, right?
Well, we can see if it's possible,
Yeah.
but this is just thinking. What about you, Matthew?
If we can convince the town and the public that 1.5% or 1.3% of this dollar increase is tax neutral, and that our effective school operational budget is up about 5, 5.25, 5.5. I would like to try to do that.
So you're as is.
No, 5.5, 6, something like that.
Do you want it to go down to 5.5, or do you want us to say to the town, it's already 5.5,
I would say 6%.
6%? What about you, Jen?
I'm not marketing person, so $5.99.
1.91.
So something under 6 or around 6.
Adrian?
Just for discussion purposes, Matt's suggestion about the nurses within the budget, I'm projecting it's up to about $1.3 million overall. So you're looking at about a 1.5, about a 1.45% decrease in your budget. You'd be coming in at 6.89 if you weren't carrying that in your budget now.
Okay. What do you say, Adrian?
Yeah, I think that the town, it's valid that we're talking about new spending here. And I think that we need to point out that this is new spending. We're not talking, there's extra money in here, but it was because of a transfer. But the new spending should be, I think 6, which would maybe 5.5, but that would put us close to about 7.25 on the percent number.
Oh, so you're saying 6 plus the nurses.
Correct. So
Okay.
I think 7, I think 7 or 7.25 would be a good goal, because that is a realistic, like 5.75 or something like that.
Good luck with
Percent
that.
increase.
It would take a real communication strategy.
Okay. Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I think I'd lean towards Adrian's approach, looking at, 6.5 to 7 as a target range,
Okay.
But yeah, I think there's a full scour that, maybe we should,
Jay?
I don't like just throwing out a number. I think we just need to go through and see, is there any place we can reduce that isn't going to, but I just don't like tying to a specific number.
I like to have a goal and something reasonable that we think is gonna go through. Instead of coming back to the drawing board. But that's okay, so you'll pass. What do you say, Dean? You could pass too if you want to.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's an odd year. It's a municipal election year. It's possible, and I'm sure who's listening, it's possible that the council may be thinking, hey, you're the biggest, of our cats in the zoo here. I'm gonna hold you to, that the way they're gonna look good rolling into the fall is by holding back the number, and the biggest number they're gonna hold back would be us. You're at least from one member who said, hey, my kids are grown and they're fine and all that, and they got a decent education. However, this is just the numbers. He was not interested in what we do. And that sentiment may be echoed elsewhere. I'm still trying to think of what it is that would pass muster. I don't think this is gonna be a game of whatever number we come up with, they'll come back and say, well, and then knock a point and a quarter off or something like that. It's gonna be a yay or a nay. Again, I'm just thinking out loud. But there will be a consideration here. And then, of course, there's a further consideration of what would the RTM do once we blow through the council. They were kind enough in the past, although that was, I think, a nail biter. I think we should make the point that we are carrying a new charge, a very, very pricey charge, and that was just dumped to us. I know people don't want to hear that, but that's true. And at that time, it was sold as, hey, we saved money, yeah, but we ate it. So we're not going to continue to eat that. That was Rob and Peter to pay Paul to make that one happen, and we're just not going to do that anymore. So the nurses are back up front and center. So that is something there. Yeah, I don't have a number in mind. I really don't. It can't be zero, wouldn't that be?
Yeah, no, it cannot be zero.
It's not going to be zero.
Not my group.
But the numbers that have been thrown around, I mean.
Well, it definitely can't be this 8 either.
No.
8.37, that's not.
Eight, and they'll line us up against the wall. They'll have
Yeah.
help too.
They're gonna think we're totally
Yeah, so
crazy.
Five is would be a dream number. Man, if we could land right between 6 and 7, that's also kind of a wish. I'll know more when I go through these things again,
Okay.
you know.
And I guess the CPI is going to be around 3.5 to 3 3/4.
But we have deferred things too. It's the problem.
I know you told me to hush, but I really need to say it, right? It looks like we, the board, added 1.3 onto this budget, but we, the board, should have had that in the numbers that we were reviewing. So we did not add the 1.3. That's operational stuff that should have been known ahead of time.
Some of it we added as we were going along. We said, hey, let's do more of this, let's do more. of that.
No.
Nurses.
No, no, I am talking about stuff that should have been in our baseline and
Like what?
the health benefits, the
Other health
workman's
benefits.
comp, the fuel, the electricity,
Well, the health is always.
all that stuff.
So
At this time. of year-
maybe that's gonna miraculously get lower.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's the hardest thing too to predict because they don't give us our numbers
Well,
until.
the workman's comp.
No, I know.
I just found out about that today from John, so.
I was
Yeah,
gonna ask you about that. Is that
Yeah.
based on? the-
we have to wait for the town to
Yeah.
give us these numbers, Jen.
Workers' comp?
Because now it
Yeah,
looks
this-
like,
wait for the town to give us the
it looks
numbers.
like now the superintendent's budget is low and the board's adding it.
Well, we can deduct all that. and
No, I'm just saying, it
Okay.
looks like a very false thing.
But we did add some stuff.
I'm okay with what we added. I am just making it
The
like.
big, what Jen's saying, I think is like the big chunk
I know
number.
what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know
like
what you're saying.
that was stuff, I mean, the workman's comp thing.
That's
I
old
think
stuff.
I think I missed some of that conversation.
Yeah.
That just came from the town today.
Yeah.
That's new information.
Yeah.
But we've been on our budget since January.
And I
Well,
think sometimes it comes in at
Ian,
different.
I'm not,
I'm just
No,
saying,
no, I know.
We're all trying to do.
I just,
keep criticizing the town, we're gonna get nowhere, so please don't criticize him. He gave it to us today, maybe that's when he got it was today.
All right.
So, okay, so let's,
We still don't have OPEB.
Yeah, we
and that's not
right.
the town's fault.
alright, so
That's
come
when
on.
the
I'm not saying
actuaries-
By
it's
doing
town.
that, you don't help our case at all. I'm just telling you, board members, about doing that kind of stuff. You're not helping our case.
Well, I'm
I-
also looking at
Yeah.
systematically as far as
Yeah,
like, how
but
can we
this is
improve
what we
this
got it.
in the
We
future?
got it when we got it. He gave it to us today.
Is that typical every year?
Don't know, I can't remember from
Every
yesterday.
year, it takes insurance, and I've heard Lori say this so many times, it's not until like May or March that we really understand
Right,
the
even the health
healthcare.
insurance.
Well, that's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We just gotta get better about
Know
estimating.
What an
Yeah.
amount is.
Okay, so that's all, I'm
Right.
trying to
But I don't want you to criticize him. You see,
It's
every-
not
well, I'm
criticizing the town.
I was just observing.
Okay,
We just,
all
For me, I'm not.
I didn't say,
criticizing.
I'm talking to
Oh,
Ian, not
oh,
you.
okay.
Talking to Ian.
Okay,
I'm just trying to say, is we only started wrestling with that number today.
All right.
So
I love her.
we just gotta get better at it.
Dean, you shut up.
For what it's worth, because the town creates its budget, which includes all the other numbers in time, hopefully, so that the mill rate can be set in like the first week of June. So work backwards from that, and what do you get? That you get, the Department of Education has got to figure out its budget and figure out its projections about halfway through its current fiscal year. Some of those numbers can be pretty well estimated, other things are basically just pulled out of the air. That's what happens, and as we move into February, we have better guesses, we just don't have, they just don't get, firm enough for our likes. We don't have the same time period that the council does. When does the council do its budget? It's also guessing on things, but it's guessing later and it has more of a track record. So
Right.
it's just where we are. We're
More
making the best guess
Mhm.
on a lot of these things, so.
Can I just ask Ray, according to the tracker, Ray, what is the net change right now?
Net change is, you've increased from the 93,677 to 95,316,231. Total net change, 7,357,747, or 8.37%. Now, I do want to interject that I am meeting this week with either Dee or John to discuss the healthcare benefits, OPEB, workers' comp, all of this. That may change. It may go down. So, as I said earlier, let's not get too excited about the increase on it. This is a work in progress, this tracker. So it's our goal to use it to our advantage. That's my spin on it. Okay.
Thank you, Ray. Now, does anybody have any ideas or where to make reductions? Oh, Jen, you do.
I do.
All right, go ahead, go for it.
No,
Can we, you want to continue going?
Can we take
Does
a
anybody have a-
5-minute break?
No.
5-minute break?
5-minute break?
Well,
Okay, recess.
5-minute break? 7-minute break?
Or can we do 15 more minutes?
We're using up our time.
Oh, 15 minutes is all you need?
I don't know. That's what Susan said.
How long are we gonna go to, by the way?
I'll go as long as it takes.
Go ahead.
As
yeah,
long as it takes. So,
No, I mean, how
have
long?
ideas.
Okay,
Let's have a 5-minute break and then we'll come back again.
okay.
Get you legs. Go ahead, Matthew.
Thank you.
I'm sitting right here.
Yeah.
I'm sitting right here and waiting.
Should we pause the recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Hang your mics off for a bit.
He's gotta go to the bathroom just to make it.
Oh, here.
Would you like me to mute the room while you're on break?
Yeah, that'd
Yes, please.
Can we pause the recording
Yeah.
and
We're back recording.
Forget that facilities.
You're back from a 5-minute recess. Okay, Jen.
Okay.
Hear from you.
Okay. So I've been
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, of course, because you asked for it the other day. So like I said, like the truck was on my list, before. There's 300,000 that we invested in wit and wisdom that we used in the 24-25 budget. And so inherently it's built in to the 25-26 budget. Not really sure where that got utilized. So there's 300,000 in here somewhere.
Do you know which line it was? Was it under teaching and learning?
Not really sure where it went into last year. So that's 300,000.
Let's try to find it. Well, I'll try to find it.
Thank you.
I mean, there are some additional costs, like there's some workbooks and things like that, but it's not gonna be clear.
Yeah,
We had a
so
hundred.
I thought it was 300 for wit and wisdom and then 115 for our, software. But we're using our software, so I can't take into
Of this year or next?
next, like the 26 one.
She's talking about last year was 300,000 for wit and wisdom. Where's that 300,000?
Would it be tech ed?
It got redeployed somewhere.
So you kept the 300,000 and you doing what with it? I think that's what Jim was saying. What are you
Exactly.
doing with that
I don't know
300,000?
where it is. I don't.
Because if it got
It could-
redeployed.
There is a big number in teaching and learning, but I don't know if that's the one,
Yeah.
because Anne Marie was talking.
What's that function line?
I don't know that.
2201,
Thank you.
page 580.
587.
That's
If it-
teaching and learning anyway.
Because if it gets redeployed, I mean, we sort of, since it's budget related, we sort of need to know. Because maybe we want to put it in teachers, 387, you said?
Yeah, well, it doesn't include what you're talking about, though. This is just teaching and learning. And it's personnel.
So Susan, can you find out where the $300,000 is in this year's budget? And if you kept it, which you did, because the budget didn't go down.
The only thing I see for
Always instruction is,
materials, I don't see.
it's improvement of instruction, sorry.
Oh, where is it, Mike?
That would be it.
That, which,
It's
590.
2210,
590, 591.
but that's not big enough. I guess it's got 176,000.
Where's the 300, Mike?
I don't see a 300.
It isn't in here.
Let's see that 612 code, computer software.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the 600, which would be supply or textbook or anything.
It was, I remember seeing it, it exists.
This year, yeah.
Yeah, well, anyway, that's like,
I'm looking in the 25 budget, I don't see the 300,000.
isn't that how much we set aside though?
do we have a,
I don't see it in 2210. That was
Is it-
improvement of instruction.
Is it 1110
Teaching and
elementary
Can we,
or something like that?
we just ask Ray to pull the invoice and find out what it was charged to last year, and then we can discuss it.
I already have a note to find it. We're good.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, once he finds that wisdom invoice, it'll show the account. We'll come back to it.
And then we could tell them, I understand this year.
yes.
And reading.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, all right, so it's in 1101.
Yeah.
Instruction.
What page is that?
5-7. I think this is it anyway, and there is a $273,000 loss in that line, so it's line 322. Or 321.
Okay,
He's on page 577.
okay,
And
so
it's on line 321.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's.
So it goes 27, 325, back down to 50, so there's still a little bit of an increase from 2 years ago, like 20,000 increase.
but at least, but then
20,000 increase from 2 years ago.
there goes my savings. Thank you for finding that.
Go ahead, Jen.
And then-
We could scratch that off.
Yeah, we can scratch that off.
Okay.
So substitutes are in there for 950,000. It's because we have like a 20% type of,
And that's on the same page, she's on 57, because I see substitute on line
Yes.
120 for 950,000.
yes,
Okay.
so, we have, you know, coming in at like, we have 20% absenteeism. So instead of increasing or decreasing, we need to fix that somehow and identify what's the issue there. So I know
teacher.
teachers. So if we can increase the teacher attendance rates, right, then the need for the substitutes should decrease. So that, I was thinking like 10% of that 950. I mean, I didn't even go up to 20%. So that's like around 100,000 or 95,000. The teachers also ask for supplies, in that 601 line, right? So it's like 150,000, requests there. So there's an opportunity there.
Which line item was that?
601.
601.
Thank
This one's near and dear to your heart, Adrian.
Well, you want to decrease that?
Yeah,
To what?
because they've been living with like 73,000.
All right, so you got
So
minus 156,000.
exactly.
They've been living with 50%. The site budgets would marry into this. They have had their full budget cut back to 50% for 2 full years. Just like maintenance on the vehicle, they can't live with another year at 50%.
So the question is, you know of something easy to cut, tell us, because everything we're going to come to is not going to be easy.
No, but I'd have to talk to the principals about what would be doable. I can talk to them about supplies.
How quickly could that happen?
Rather cut supplies and be able to provide a tutor. I mean,
Saying I need to find out what they can live with and what they can't.
well, okay. I mean, these are just ideas, like I'd rather try to cut things that are,
And then I can go back and find out.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, these aren't set in stone.
Yeah, these aren't, this is
No,
just
these are
like,
ideas.
this is just like Jen thinking like, hey, how can we like help the students? In this JRTC, like 10,000 of the 50 that was put in, like, I don't, that's like up in the front somewhere.
Yeah, that's on.
1091.
That's on page,
It's like
5, 6, 5. So it's 50,000 in the budget, you would reduce it to
Like
that.
20%, so 10,000. I mean, reduce it by 10,000. Because they never had anything, so to not have anything and get 40,000, it's sort of like, okay, because they never knew that they had 50.
Sure.
And then there was the line, oh, sorry. And then unfortunately Sam left, but I know we were able to reduce last year. Like,
What page are you on that?
oh, I'm going to the bus.
Are the buses, pupil attendance?
Yeah, people,
That's 5110.
like I always try not to hit like the 5110.
Really, 511.
Operation and maintenance, function code 2510.
Mhm.
So your pupil transportation.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Our pupil.
5110, 5111.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so last year we were able to reduce, the routes. I'm wondering if we can reevaluate the routes and see if we could get one more route out this year. I'm not sure like how stressed that is already. I know for a fact where I live, we have 2 buses coming down. One turns right and then the other one turns left to go to GLP and one goes to Noank. And I'm wondering, like, can the GLP and Noank share a bus? That was just I don't know if you noticed the same thing. Adrian.
Are the
They
buses
could also
full?
be magnet buses, and the magnet buses are not really in full.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I can find out though.
Yeah, wherever. I mean, I'm just picking up my own,
So I guess
Yeah.
you asked a question about what we would do for Plan B. Maybe if the worst happens, which we don't want to have happen, maybe we'll have to suspend magnet schools for a couple of years and go back to neighborhood schools.
Mhm.
That's not, I mean, it's terrible.
Mhm. So I don't know that.
Redistricting. Have you ever done anything like that? We did in New King.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, I mean, we have to do what we have to do, right?
You're not talking about.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about buses.
Go ahead.
Last year, I think it saved 80 something,
80,000.
84,000, something like that.
And then I got,
So-
remember, a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if
We ended up
do one or,
raveling it
No, we didn't. We had to
a
make
little bit,
changes. I had to make some changes, but we did.
right? And then
Still
the
we're
problem
able
is
to
that the routes tend to be longer, the children are on the bus.
Well, what,
You take a look at it.
yeah, we'll look at it.
okay,
These are the choices the town council, that's the town, if we go in with these potential changes, we're going to have to tell council, these are some of what we came up with, and here's the cost for each one of these. The kids are going to have a longer ride.
No, we don't want the kids to have a.
Of course, we don't want the kids to have a longer ride.
son went to a non-district school, and he went to parochial school nearby, and, he was he was like 3 or 4 at the time, and he was like, oh, I went down this road, went on the bus, and then we'd be on the other side of town, like near Mystic River, River Road. I'm here. I'm like, why? Because my bus was on this road. this poor child drove all around town for like an hour or so, and that's not fair to any child. There was like, so those are very, I was hoping that the 300,000, oh, and this is the kicker one. There was like 3 mentions of grant positions that got converted to full-time positions. As far as I'm concerned, grant positions need to end with grants. And I don't know how many FTEs were converted to board budget positions. So that could be potentially a savings.
What were the 3 grant positions that you made into?
I don't know.
It
Communication.
was mentioned during the meetings. I think one was like the communication person, and then there were 2 other ones. And I just don't recall
The
the,
communication, we were able to put part of the salary in a grant because it had a component of her work that she was doing. So
okay,
we were able to actually put her in.
There are several places where the budget narrative says, because of grant funded now in the budget.
yeah, I noted 3 when we were going through these meetings. So I don't know how many more that weren't mentioned, but any position. Actually, I think you mentioned some last night, right? Like in your synopsis at the town council meeting, like these positions were added. And I think some of them were grant ones.
I think that was Juliet, and we said they were 120.
No, not that. This is like during your opening, like you invested.
I don't remember.
Okay. But I, no, definitely, there were 3 at least in here, and then if there are more, that could be potentially saving, because that needs to just be reevaluated. There were a lot of positions, right, like that were mentioned, that because of need, we added tutors. And I'm not picking on the tutors, so, because I disagree to like, but
And you sit next to Matthew, he's gonna kick you under the table.
so there were positions that were added that now became direct costs.
Was EL, and that was definitely because of many more students that we.
Yes.
received.
So those fundings came from somewhere that was, we as the board last year approved it for something else that got redirected to salaries. So I need to understand where that came from. Because how did you fund suddenly all these teachers if the teacher's salary line was adequately funded? We should be running in excess over, right? So
We can find out where we did.
because how did the
Yeah.
funding get into that salary line? So that's what I need to understand. That's X amount of dollars.
Right.
That's
Probably
in this,
positions that hadn't been filled, but use that fund.
yeah. So those are fundings that, is contributing to our expenses here. And I'm not saying that they're not needed. I'm not saying that we're gonna eliminate them. I just need to understand like how it got funded, because it could have gotten funded by some of the smaller line items, but if those, we need to decide as a board, like what we're funding, what's eventually to be funded, because I don't want us to, like, let's say we do settle on 7%, like a $6.2 million budget. I don't want us to settle on that. Just later down the road, realize like, oh, we needed more teachers, so we're gonna take it out of all of these, like, other codes, because I feel like that's what happened, you know what I mean? So I just need to make sure that whatever we approve, it's gonna sort of stay that way. There's supposed to be a policy in place for large items that will, if it gets shifted around, that we would be notified. We're not gonna micromanage every little thing, but
Well, and I think it's Adrian said, the FTEs and teachers have really dropped in
mhm,
2020. I mean, we've reduced them.
mhm.
So.
I'm
I
not,
think it's the non-teachers
Yeah, and some of those positions, like I said, when you can't hire, a para and you need to get a sub para, you have to make those decisions so that you cover your bases, especially for kids on an IEP. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of the daily work.
Yeah, but the funding's still coming from somewhere. Like,
Still coming out of the salary account.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not as though they went into fuel or electricity.
Still coming out of the same
So
account.
it's still
Yeah.
coming out of the,
Yeah.
we only approved when it changes
Account.
accounts,
categories,
Yeah.
correct,
the large
Yeah.
categories.
But if it's coming out the same account, we don't do anything.
correct. But as we're stating, like our salary line is higher, right, than, so our salary line is increasing. We are suddenly coming up, are able to afford positions that were not originally part of our budget last year.
Because I'm saying there probably are positions that weren't filled and couldn't fill.
So then the FTE counts is only showing, are you saying that the FTE counts that are being shown here are only people butts in seats right now? Or are they counts of like what like the entire district and the according salary should be? Does that make?
To get the HR director to weigh in.
I think there's another dimension, if I may.
Mhm.
I think there's another dimension of what Jen is saying. If Matthew is made full-time using grant funds, that's wonderful. Maybe the best thing in the world, but there's an opportunity cost, and that's what the other use of those grant funds could have gone to if it didn't increase somebody from part-time to full-time. So there's an opportunity cost by using the grant for that. That if the grant could be used for salary, it could be, if it didn't use for salary, maybe we could have another tutor.
Yeah, but the grant has to be used for what the grant's written for.
I understand, but there's some flexibility in how you apply grant funds.
I'm just thinking
Wow.
about Ray.
Yeah.
I mean, these are lovely conversations, but I really feel like I've been with this for.
I've been up since 4. But does it make sense? Like, how are we always able to like cover all of these salaries and like FTEs, right? There's something there.
It's called shenanigans.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, is it true? Is it like a true stat? Is this a
I
true
just
chart?
point to something
Yeah.
to us that you're talking about, because you're talking in generalities, but
No, because
keep
like,
saying that we've reported positions that we didn't budget for and we took the money somewhere else, but could you point out?
tell us that we increase like, whatever, 10 paras, whatever, like, all these positions that were,
I'm just not following.
Yeah, I'm not following either.
I'm not following.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired of,
So just putting it out there.
Yeah.
it's not that, Susan. I just,
It's been a long day.
it's
All right.
been a long day too.
Let Adrian go. And
Go.
we'll Get off of that.
I would like to ask for a list of any grant funded positions that are gonna be put into the, I mean, we should just ask, are there any grant positions that are gonna be put into our budget next year?
Yeah.
Ray,
And
did
can
you
you
get
give that
that?
to us?
Okay.
So I think we could just say it that way, because I had the impression like there was some answers in some of the FAQ where it seemed like there was some grants that were transferring, so.
So is there any grant positions that are gonna be put into our budget next year?
Right.
Okay.
All right, so I have
Did
a
you hear
couple
that,
of other
Ray?
things. I'm just gonna, these are requests that we have them ready for next time.
Okay.
Coach stipends,
Mark.
I don't believe, yeah, I mean, there was a big increase. It wasn't 175,000 because I think one line item was broken into 2 line items, but it was still pretty big. Even when you add the 2 line items together, it was like, yeah, it's like
Those are all
75.
contractual, so we need to look at.
It seemed like it was more than the percentage increase was more than a couple of percent.
Yeah, that's coach stipends.
Yeah, so coach stipends,
Mhm.
we asked for central office or superintendent's office, HR and attorney's fees. Seemed like it was a big increase when you add all 3 of those together like they were together last year. So we still don't have, attorney's fees was 70,000, but I think there was still like a little over 100,000 increase outside the attorney fees between the superintendent's office and HR. So we were I think we were waiting for, that to be put on all one sheet so we could look at that number in a organized fashion. And then this is a little one, but IB testing. I feel like maybe some kids can pay for those tests. It was 20,000 we budgeted. 2 years ago, I think we spent 5 or 6,000 on IB tests.
It has to be AP too.
I think, is AP reimbursed though? Are AP tests reimbursed? I couldn't find them anywhere in the budget.
Because I think we pay for
We
AP.
pay for everybody.
Yeah.
We do, but does the AP come back to us some other way?
Only free and reduced lunch, but they, for both AP and IB, free and reduced lunch, yeah. Great.
So you wanna know, like, if for those kids that we don't get any reimbursement for, how much are we paying for that?
Yeah, well, I know we let everybody test for free,
Right.
right? Because a lot of kids are
And
free
then
and
the seal
reduced.
of biliteracy too.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, some kids can pay for it that don't need financial help. Is there a savings there for us? Because like, I would just pay for it. I don't. I
A lot of
would- I
people
would,
say they
you know,
would pay for it.
I think a lot of people would pay for it, so I think there's some savings in there. And I don't think we need to necessarily tie it to free and reduced lunch. We just have to say, people can't afford it, tell the principal, let the principal handle it.
Dean, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you.
Some years ago, and actually before I was on the board, when we were moving kids around, we'd gotten away from neighborhood schools. The figure, I think maybe it was after the last redistricting, the figure for the transportation was about $750. And I asked Sam last year, I said, well, okay, if we've got all these intra-district magnet schools, so we're moving kids who might not have to be moved. And that's part of a plan to encourage, the schools to be more, I can't think of the word off the top of my head. However you want to put it. And I asked Sam, I said, Sam, once upon a time, I was given the figure of like $750,000 for the additional cost of transportation of the, for this. What do you think it is now with the intra-district magnet as we're encouraging kids to go from here to there and all that? He said, that's about right. That's never an explicit line item, and I doubt that it's anything you could actually calculate, certainly not in the time frame that we're talking about. But for whatever it's worth, we do need to keep in mind that that program does cost money. There is overhead for that. If we'd gone back to neighborhood schools, we would save X dollars. And I'm saying that's got to be at least that $750 figure. So somewhere in here, scattered all over the place, is that overhead for the intra-district magnet. It's not a freebie to move kids around like that.
We took kids from Brantford Manor and brought them over to S.B. Butler and Rochester, and they divided them with CK. So there was a lot of things that happened. They brought a whole fifth grade ones over to Rochester, and there was fury. So they were still busing kids around, even with redistricting. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just less or more or what, but it wasn't popular.
But I'm just, regardless of the thing, it is a part of our program. It has a cost to it, and it's in that range, I'm arguing, just so that we're aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to see if we reduce the budget to 5.99%, where would you make reductions? If you can get that to me.
Okay.
Mike?
Yeah, so a general follow-up, we've mentioned like asking the principals where to cut, but the IT director, I think we should include
Do like,
all departments, right? Like
absolutely.
the,
I actually have a meeting scheduled.
yeah, HR, even HR, central office, et cetera. And just a reminder, function code 2120 is guidance. I'm still concerned that it looks like from our budget numbers that there's one less guidance counselor in the dollar amount, even though apparently we're not reducing it. Just that mismatch, I think it's still there. Maybe it's not. Actually, I didn't look at the stuff set at 5 tonight, so maybe it was changed, but that's so 2120, just double
Thought it
check
was a
that.
$100,000 difference.
I thought it's 21,000. Yeah, it's $100,000 too low if it had the same number of people. And some concern. So that's mine.
Last but not least.
Thank you. I don't have any proposed reductions or areas to look at right now, but I did also, something I'd like to put on the tracker is what it would, anticipated cost to increase the career counselor to full-time. And then I will have some ideas for, reductions,
Next Wednesday.
next Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take the,
And yeah, and hopefully more people have ideas for reductions next Wednesday.
And I'll get you a hard copy before the weekend. I'll try to get it even tomorrow. That's our goal.
The key word is try.
Well, I
If
tried.
it doesn't come tomorrow.
Well, we
don't get
worked on it.
upset.
Well, we were ready to get it to you tonight.
But I'm
just
just
until
saying,
6
just in
o'clock.
case something happens, and
Yeah,
you know.
but it wasn't paginated, right?
Remember what
Right.
Yoda said?
Messed up.
Yoda said, do or do not, there is no try.
All right, they have a motion. Are we good?
But we can't adjourn. We don't know how.
Yeah.
We're doomed to have breakfast.
Good night, Ray.
Good night, Ray. Thank you, Ray.
are we adjourning or we?
So you're supplying breakfast, Matt?
Absolutely. You come right here at 7.
To adjourn, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Ah.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.